what's around here.
I'll let my fist do the talking.
Welcome to the arena. Arena of Valor.
It's a beautiful morning in Los Angeles, California, as we find ourselves halfway through week number 6 in Season 2 of the Valor Series. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. We are live from the Intel Esports Arena for Season 2 of the Valor Series, brought to you by Facebook Gaming. My name is Jump, and I'm joined here by TJ and Viram. We saw lots of different action on the battlefield yesterday. Are you excited for what we're going to see today?
I think this is going to be the day where we actually get to decide kind of who's top 6. I think we're locking in the top 6 at this point.
Top 6, TJ.
Top 6.
Yeah.
Across the board.
I objectively agree. Yeah, that is definitely a correct statement.
Your objective statements are both equally entertaining and appalling in the same breath. Of course, with Arena of Valor comes the exciting news that we want to bring you at the top of every show. First off, Arena of Valor is on the Nintendo Switch. Launched on September 25th. Now you can play your favorite heroes on the Joy-Cons or your Pro Controller, whichever you may choose. And the best part about it is it's free. Go ahead and make sure you also connect your Nintendo eShop account to your mobile account as well, so you can get all of the juicy goodness. You get yourself some gold, help get you a head start to get all of the heroes that are on the Switch available for you to play. We saw Annette as well, one of the newest heroes to grace the Antares battlefield. Yesterday, we saw an interesting development. Specifically, we saw the Latin American, North American regions build her quite differently and use her to varying degrees of success.
I'm very interested to see how these Annette builds develop. We saw a little bit in other regions, the Asian regions. They've been playing a lot of Annette. Here in the West, we saw a variety, we'll say, of theories on how to play Annette. And some of them panned out and others didn't. At all.
Definitely a few different schools of thought on how to not only build her, but sort of how the effectiveness or how you should use some of her abilities. Her ultimate in particular seemed to have a couple different, techniques that were applied. I think NA was sort of the closest on how finding the most success there.
It feels like North America really draws directly from the Asian regions when it comes to theory crafting. Yeah.
Well, we also got to see the newest game mode that's going to be on the battlefield with Arena of Valor in Clone Clash. But we've actually got some exciting news that will also be being added to Arena of Valor and the Antares battlefield.
Dear Arena of Valor challengers, welcome to this edition of the Developer Log. Ever since the game's launch, players have been using different heroes to fight together on the Antares battlefield. But we've been wondering, what if everyone had to use the same hero? Wouldn't that be fun? We've been looking into the idea, and now, after countless design innovations and tweaks, we're finally introducing an all-new casual mode to the game, Clone Clash. In Clone Clash, all players on a team will battle using the same hero. During the hero selection phase, select the hero you want to use to place your vote. The hero with the most votes will be your team's hero for the match. In the event of a tie, The system will randomly select one of the top choices. Imagine 5 of Malik's Shock appearing at your feet, or 5 butterflies charging out of the brush. What a sight! What's more, both teams can potentially use the same hero. To ensure fair gameplay, some heroes have been banned from Clone Clash. Also, to make sure heroes of different classes are playable, we've made some class balance changes for this mode. We've also modified the pace of the Antares battlefield, so heroes grow more quickly, allowing players to jump into battle sooner. Hope you enjoy this new game mode. This new version introduces some significant gameplay optimizations to the battlefield. There are 5 improvements in total. First, hero lane icons showing the recommended lane for each hero now appear in the hero list of the hero menu to help players form a more balanced lineup. Second, we've added popular builds to the hero menu. Players can choose customized builds or popular builds according to their needs. We've also optimized how build popularity is calculated. Third, we've optimized MVP ratings. Because players of different classes assume different roles in a match, we want to emphasize and encourage the main responsibility of each class. That's why we've added class weighting to the MVP calculation. For example, making a kill is weighted more heavily for assassins, while dealing damage to heroes is weighted more heavily for marksmen and mages. Lastly, we've added Seal of Kings. Starting next season, players who reach S Battlefield Legend in a season will receive a Seal of King. So, what are you waiting for? Come and collect your seals. Well, that's all for this edition of the Developer Log. Thank you for watching.
As we can see, there's plenty of new changes that we're going to have. A lot of cosmetic changes, a lot of, more instantly, it's clarification. Yes.
Valheim is not a mid laner. Thanks. And I'm very happy that the 10% people agree with me.
So now, if you try to take Valheim mid lane,
it will
you're
tell
wrong.
you
It
you're
will tell
doing
you
it
you're
wrong.
wrong.
Yeah.
And that is the single greatest change this game has ever seen. That single-handedly will improve my gameplay experience 1,000-fold.
Well, that not only gives me the gift of just mental solidarity, but in speaking of gifts, we've got gifts for you in a span of giveaways. Of course, we've got the 3 regions, Europe, Latin America, and North America. At some point, they're going to pop up on your screen. At some point, there we go. They're there. Ta-da! All right, remember, these are region-locked Europe, North America, and Latin America. We've said it once. We're going to say it again. This is broadcast number 12.
Wow.
Yeah.
12.
Broadcast 12. Broadcast 12.
If they haven't figured out the
If
codes
you
are
haven't
region
figured
locked.
out by now that if you're in Europe, you put in the code for Europe, the Latin American code won't work for you, I don't know what else I can tell you. I'm going to be honest.
I think they're hopeless if it's been 12 broadcasts and you've said it every time and they're still putting in the
And
Latin
we've made, it's not been
American
like a small point. We've,
Yeah,
like, this has only gotten longer and longer. Every single time
Every
we've done this
single
segment,
time.
every time.
We've had legitimate
we're doing it.
dialogue
Yeah.
on it at this point in time.
It was just him, but now we have like
I know,
a whole
we have
conversation.
I have an investment in this.
All right.
Get them off the screen.
Enough about the codes. Let's talk about today. We've got 6 matches for you, 2 from each region, Europe, Latin America, and then North America. Which one are you most excited for, guys?
Team Queso versus Bubble Team. Right at the start, we saw Team Queso yesterday perform much better than we thought they would. They took a game 1, and Bubble Team in the past has been a team that doesn't really activate until the late game. I'm hoping that maybe Team Queso can double down, show some more surprise upsets. And Bubble Team, though they look dominant, though they definitely seem like a team on a rise, they're still a little bit shaky at times, and maybe this could expose some cracks in their armor.
Alliance existence as well is another match that's going to matter in the EU region, because right now there's the bottom 3 teams. There is a legitimate fight. There is a scrap going on for that 4th place spot and even the 3rd place spot, potentially, if they can try and claw their way up a little bit more. So all of these games today, it's the light game. Every single one of these games matters a ton.
All right, well, it seems like they're very excited for Europe, so I'm not going to keep anybody waiting any longer. Let's talk about what we got for Europe specifically. Team Queso versus Bubble Team, Alliance versus Existence. We'll get to the Alliance game later on. We know that that has a huge impact on the course of the next couple weeks of the regular season. Let's talk about our first matchup of the day, Team Queso versus Bubble Team.
I'm very excited, like I said, for this because Team Queso are the team that has chronically underperformed, and Bubble Team are the team that started that way and then fixed it. Especially with the addition of Rez, they look like a world-beating EU team. They definitely could challenge for the top slot in Europe. Team Queso, well, they haven't quite got that.
They showed some moments yesterday. They had an existence, made some misplays. Queso was able to capitalize. They looked really solid. They were able to execute, close out the match. They need to channel that energy from minute 1 in this game if they have a chance.
They actually took a team off of the previous iteration of Bubble Team pre the addition of Rez at Gamescom. Team Queso did tie that series, I believe. So it is entirely possible that they show up here, that they manage to make this a close game. But we need to see something more than what we've seen over the previous few weeks.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit about these rosters. Team Queso specifically, there's a lot of individuals that have been stepping up, but I know one of the big ones that we're wanting to highlight, specifically seeing how he played yesterday in the Valor series, is Ruiz.
Ruiz's Raz has been insane.
Oh, it was good.
He just was able to find these crazy picks. He should not have been allowed to the areas he was getting to. He had such a good understanding, it felt, of where he was going to be able to get to on the map, and there was always, almost always, an escape path laid out for him.
He was so sneaky. He was a ninja. He was like, I'm in a bush in the back of this, hello! And he would just pop on out, surprise, and help take the fight by storm. It was really awesome. The way the team played around him as well was really good. As you say, laying those escape paths for him definitely needs to step up and be an all-star, someone his team can rally around.
All right, well, taking a look at their opponent on the opposite side of the battlefield comes down to none other than the Bubble Team. I want to specifically highlight Rez. This is a player that we have highlighted in the past, one of the strongest, if not the strongest side laner in the entirety of Europe. But now that he finds himself on a new team, we haven't seen too many iterations of this new roster. I want to see how this plays out and how he starts to continue to mesh with a team with such high caliber players as this.
Yeah, it's him and Shurko, the core of that old For the Dream roster. And now that they're reunited, well, they're looking like a deadly duo again.
And this whole squad, there's so many big names that we can talk about. But one name that I want to preface is Darkbreaker. Because he's a player who I use the term high risk, high reward. He either makes plays that are sick and we praise him for it, or he overextends and dies. I feel like if there's any member on this team who needs to clean up their play a little bit, it's him. Because the rest of the team is so phenomenal. If he can get up there too, they will be challenging Nova for number 1.
It's a very feast or famine. He either leaves and ends the game in 10-0, or he ends the game in 0-10. There's no 5-5 for him.
Yeah.
So finding that middle ground and finding that consistency is something that we need to see versus a team that has been pretty aggressive in Team Queso and the strides that they've made over the last couple weeks. But now, gentlemen, as we get ourselves close to the pick ban phase, it's time for predictions.
I do like the Team Queso upset storyline. They are definitely unpredictable, but I do think Bubble Team do have my 2-0 prediction here.
2-0 Bubble Team, yeah. They've been looking way too strong recently. The addition of Rez is there, and they're the number 2 team in the league right now. You would be hard-pressed to bet against them.
All right, well, you see what they have to say. It is a Bubble Team unified desk. We want to think about what you guys think, though, at home. Head over to Twitter. Use the hashtag Valor Series. Tweet us your predictions, your thoughts, and who you feel is going to come out on top for this matchup. Now, as we get ourselves into the pick ban phase, Annette is a hero that I know we clearly want to talk about. We saw her in Latin America. We saw her in North America. Europe, not necessarily on the Annette train just yet. Will we see a change in that today?
I'd hope so, because she is a very, very strong character and definitely one that's not so powerful she's going to be consistently banned. So if you can work her into your roster, I think, especially for a team that likes to play squishier characters like Bubble Team, there's a place.
She can be an additional source of damage. She's utility. She is the definition of utility. She offers so much to a team who knows how to play with her. We saw her use yesterday to plug up chokes in the jungle to lock team fights in. And that's something that I really feel like a team like Bubble Team could exploit and capitalize on. Memorized, he gets in there, he's able to set up some big plays for his team. You know that the rest of the squad is going to be there. I think that's part of the reason why she found mixed success, because unlike Yabeneth, who can do his thing on his own, regardless of what his allies are doing, Annette needs the team to work around her.
Annette is a team play focused character in Bubble Team, in Team Queso. You have very team play focused teams, and you have 2 teams that are very, very good at using CC control abilities. So I definitely think that if there was going to be a match where Europe pulled her out for the first time, it would be here.
But looking at these bans now, looks like she's probably going to make it on through. Omen, no surprise. Kresh as well, staples of the EU banning. We are seeing, again, the Lindis has been making an appearance in more ban lists of late as well, but the Abeneth and the Valheim, pretty standard.
Yeah, I still hold my opinion that the Lindis is not as good as people hold her up to be, and she's certainly not better than Violet.
I would agree.
Team Queso letting Violet through, for me, is massive as a misplay.
She still has also, in the first 6.5 weeks of gameplay, despite the presence that you see Lindis having in about 65% of the games, has only found herself winning about 36% of the time. So just over 1 out of every 3 games she's gaining a win. It doesn't seem like the viability necessary to ban away. However, I do see this as a much more of a target ban towards Team Queso, jungling specifically. In the meanwhile, though, banning away the Lindis left open the Violet. That was an immediate first pick by Queso. They're now going to have that star jungler in their hands. And then Bubble Team responds immediately with a Pura Zenial and starting the bare bones of that Death Ball composition.
The Pura Zenial comp is actually a little bit different, and I really like it because you're able to use that Zenial to add damage reduction to any fight that gets started, and it gives the Pura composition a little bit more side lane flexibility. However, I think Team Queso have started really strong.
Oh, I absolutely agree. And what's great about drafting the Violet in the first pick is that there's really no counterplay to the Violet. She does her thing regardless. She's just a strong jungle. You don't give away anything.
No, we don't have somebody like a Max who we saw as a hard counter towards that in the later stages of Season 1. There isn't that just hard dive composition, but in a sense, I say that, and as I talk about it, it looks like a Ryoma and Jin are locked in immediately. So the Death Ball commit is fully there, and now you have the early game power of the Ryoma.
We were talking earlier about that Lindis pick ban rate. The Violet actually 33% win rate in Europe.
Actually lower.
That is not nearly as high as I thought it should be. And I'm kind of interested if that's just a lack of adaptation on the European side of things, or what's caused that.
I think a lot of it has to do with the fact that the teams who were pulling it out is the better team was often comfortable enough letting her go through because they didn't really fear her because they knew like any jungle they could shut her down. So oftentimes the better team was leaving enough they'd rather ban more specific targeted things, and in a lot of cases the weaker team was able to grab her and just not find success with her. That being said, if the noob gets Mina, that's a great way to counter what Bubble Team is doing.
But as seen here, I think letting the Violet through allowed Bubble Team to start with that Pura Zenial, follow through with the Jinnar. They have the Pura Jinnar as their core, their side lanes, their split lanes are set. If they get a marksman for jungle,
yep, there it is.
Like this Fennec, I think they've got a really good roster set up.
I actually really enjoy both rosters. I 100% understand what both teams are trying to do here. Bubble Team has a very set strategy. It is the death ball, it's the commit, but Team Queso has good poke and setup and great counter initiation.
For me specifically, both of these teams revolve around the team fight.
Yes.
Regardless of what their win conditions might be, regardless of what the specifics when you actually get to the team fight and the nitty-gritty details of it itself, you take a look at this composition on both ends of the battlefield, and there is going to have to be crisp communication. Queso showed signs of that yesterday. We know it's something that they've been working on. I want to see how Bubble Team is capable of now having Rez in the roster and how well he's able to synergize quickly with his new teammates.
I think it's going to be a lot about how well Team Queso were able to not just protect Ibuchichi, which has been a common theme, but keep control and keep distance from the Death Ball. When all the ultimates go in, when you see the proper engage coming out from Team Queso, they have limited engagement tools. So during that time, I want to see the response be just a kite. You have a Violet, that's one of the best kite DPS in the game. Back up, play safe, use the Mina as a front line, and find damage during that time. And Bubble Team can't do a whole lot.
If the noob can land just insane Dark Dominions, if just allow the team, give that moment the time to peel, to back up, to kite back, and then get that return round of damage, follow up with the shock when they go in and initiate. If they can execute that well, and it's really not that hard of a combo to execute, they actually have a legitimate chance of shutting this down. I mean, it's still go in, press your ults if you're Bubble Team.
The major problem I see with that is they do have self-AoE. All of their AoE abilities, Shock, Dark Dominion, that could really stop the Death Bolt, are centered around the character models.
So they're going to die.
So if you shock it into the Pura Jinnar combo, you're dead. Badly so.
But just hope you trade positive.
We also have to consider Rez on that Ryoma. This is not something that we usually see in these death ball compositions. I want to see he plays, especially now that he's going to find himself on the bottom side of the map. But gentlemen, the conversation is done. The pregame banter is over. It's time to get right down to it. Team Queso versus Bubble Team in our first match, first game of the day.
Can Team Queso pull off what would be one of the biggest upsets we've seen yet in the European region? I think going into this stage, this would put them in an incredible position in the standings, because I don't think a lot of people were coming into this, were expecting them to win this, so they can even take a game off of Bubble Team here. This will definitely shake up a lot of people's predictions, including our own.
I really don't think Team Queso are nearly as bad as a lot of people think they are. They are a very hard-working team, and they're a team that definitely has the capacity at any moment, it feels, to put it all together.
Well, they're gonna have to put it together here, because going up against Bubble Team, it's gonna be interesting. But I agree. I think Team Queso has fallen on a little bit of hard times right now, but I do also think that this is the best iteration of Bubble Team that we have seen yet. So
the hard times may just be starting.
Yeah, the hard times, they keep rolling. But we are now going to see a little bit of an invade coming in here from Bubble Team, not wanting to allow Ibuchichi any moment's peace here. This is exactly what you need to do. But I have to say, the defense from Team Queso was solid.
Yeah, Team Queso, a big storyline has been how well they protect their jungle, how well they protect Ibuchichi. This has been a constant theme, and a constant theme of how badly Ibuchichi gets shut down during a lot of games. Seeing them already start rebuffing the Bubble Team aggression is good. And as a reminder, historically, Bubble Team were not a very aggressive team. That's something they've added to their gameplay over the last few weeks, and it may not be here to stay.
Well, it's something they're going to need to continue, especially the early game aggression centered around these objectives, aka maybe a dragon coming on through. So we'll see if they can continue to get some initial picks. Oh, the noob, if he got the death sight into that bush, could have found Lilu there. That could have been awesome, but what a nice initial bit of poke damage from Ibuchichi. The healing light comes in, but Lilu is already getting chunked. That's exactly what they need to do. A nice Wailing Blade coming in from Rez, though, but Barbara is being the front line his team needs.
One of the things about these two teams, they're both late game. Bubble Team, we always talk about that 10-minute mark activation for them, and I would argue the same is true for Team Queso. Yesterday, Ibuchichi looked so much better after that 10-15 minute mark. So if this goes late, I think honestly Team Queso have a better chance than in an early game.
Well, we did actually just miss a kill there in the mid lane. The Angelic Splendor came in to try and keep Shurko alive, but we didn't see it there. There's the shock, the full committal from Team Queso. So first blood and a dragon going their way. Yavix just solo killed Shurko in the mid lane. He came down earlier, got off the Ryu and took him down. What fantastic play, and forced out Darkbreaker into the mid. They also lost the Dragon. You could not get a better opening for Team Queso.
This is a very good start for Team Queso, particularly, like you say, because they're shutting down Shurko. He's a key part of their late game potential, and Yavix is already level 5 because of his top lane farm.
Yavix is a hero that we need to see. Like, I need to see more of this from him. I'm going to try and snipe out the Spirit Sentinel, is Bubble Team, but not able to do so. It's going to go on to the noob. Not the optimal target for that, but still better be going the way of TQ.
They're definitely not killing the Mina anytime soon, so, you know, small benefits.
Little victories, and already back into the jungle, we see Ibuchichi on that farm reset. That's exactly what I need to see from him. He needs to make sure that he's going even with this Fennec, because if they allow him to scale at all, it's going to be tough. The noob is going in, the Dark Dominion is there. Beautifully done. The Ryu, the GHCC is massive. Shurko is there as well, but look at the peel going back. The Angelic Splendor is coming in, but Shurko's already dead. Darkbreaker is there just too late. What beautiful play from Team Queso!
That was such a clean team fight. Everything was perfect. They were able to cycle through. Yavix coming to the front lines to stay ahead of the Chainhammer Cyclone and couple in with the Dark Dominion. The noob withdraws as soon as he gets dropped low. Bubble Team just got outplayed.
That was the cleanest team fight that we have ever seen from Team Queso. No questions asked. They chained that CC to the millisecond. That Ryu was perfect. Yavix, what did you have for breakfast? I need to know.
Raisin Bran.
Raisin Bran, apparently the breakfast of champions over in the European region. But seriously, he ate his Wheaties this morning, no question.
Ibuchichi did a really, really good job there as well. And we were just talking about the low win rate Violet has in Europe. For me, a lot of that is because people don't know how to play new Violet. It's all about her abilities now. And he was able to hover just within range, use her ultimate perfectly. And, well, we saw the impact of it there.
We're also going to see both of these teams pull this out. I like this. Ibuchichi's going to look. I would like him to try and pick up this red buff here as well to go into this next dragon fight. But the thing is we have to talk about is the fact that, of course, Zenio is still going to be able to split push here. So that is going to be a slight advantage going over to Bubble Team during these long, drawn-out engages over on the dragon side. So Team Queso needs to make something happen now. And Lilu cannot get engaged upon. If the noob had been a little bit quicker with that, that might have been a dead Fennec.
The noob is just busy trying to kite out that Abyssal Dragon. Make sure that Team Queso can't pick it up, but Bubble Team do have a Fennec. This means they have to take this fight.
Oh, the shock was actually canceled there. The noob is going in, though. There's the follow-up, the Angelic Splinter as well. Memorize is going to be safe. Shuriko's in the back, finding Ruiz. That's exactly what they needed to do. There's the counter initiation from Bubble Team, shutting down Team Queso.
And there is the Bubble Team we were waiting for, coming in with the Angelic Splendor to double down on the team fight, while Shuriko was already zoning on the Jinnar. There was very little Team Queso could do.
There was, but I was going to say, I thought Yavix was dead. Not going to lie right there. He went in, committed fully onto that mid tower. Didn't quite get it down. Lilu almost dying. The noob might actually get the solo kill right.
Oh. He's very wise to back off when he did. If he'd chased that, he may have gotten the kill, but it would have been a trade for not just him, but that tower as well.
Really nice play from Bubble Team, but a really nice escape there from Yavix as well. So at least not allowing them to stagger out those deaths, getting a little bit of additional map control. But it really just came down to the fact that that was a 5v4 situation, and Shuriko was able at last to get the flicker in, find the back line. The taunt went in aggressively, exactly what they needed to, but that damage reduction on the Angelic Splendor, Darkbreaker was there on time, and it made a difference.
Yavex's average KDA is 1.6 already.
That is not a whole lot.
Yeah, he's been really struggling. Already he's been managing to kind of set the pace to beat that. And that's a very good sign for Team Queso because they need their side lanes to succeed to give them the map control to protect their jungle. This is, again, something they've done much better this game. For me, a lot of it is Yavex finding that success.
And into some of the best side laners in Europe, you need to step up because, again, the idea of punching upwards, a team who plays better against better teams, and I feel like we're seeing that from Team Queso here so far in this game. And really, I think it comes down to the noob. His play needs to be flawless. If him and Yavix continue to combo like we've already seen, and we're seeing potentially right now, ooh, it's memorized. If Ibuchichi had landed that ult, that would have been massive there. But if they can continue to combo, I actually think that Team Queso has a shot in this game.
I think they are slowing down, though, and that is worrying because Lilu, as you can see, has now outscaled, outfarmed to Fennec. At level 10 is a terrifying prospect, and the noob and Barbara will find out if they go for this fight.
They're going to look to go in here, look towards this dragon side of the map as it's spawning here once again. Bubble Team, though, already in much better position for controlling this right now. Look at the aggression as they're going in onto Barbara. The Chainhammer Cyclone is there. The shield is up, and the heal already being popped. That's actually a big deal. That's a big cooldown they're not going to have for this fight.
It's a bit of a waste of the Chainhammer Cyclone, though. I'm not really sure how I feel about that. Maybe they weren't quite aware of where the rest of Team Queso were, but it was only Barbara, and even this early on, a Malik can take all of that.
Malik is very sustainable. We've seen it in multiple regions, the ability of Malik to stay alive in precarious situations. Yavix is blowing the rest of the team back, though, is already the ult is going in from Shuriko with the Ryu. Yavix secures the tower. So trading up the tower for his life, not terrible in this position, but can Bubble Team continue the fight? Memorize is going to be the target going the Fox form, but Barbara is already getting chunked. There's the healing light as well, as we do see Barbara getting just taken down. The stun from the Malleus of Darkbreaker is there. Ruiz needs to escape.
If Team Queso are going for the sacrifice play for the mid tower, it needs to be exactly that. You need to know, okay, Yavex is going to die, we're just playing defense. As is, they really overextended.
Oh, Ruiz as well put himself in a bad position. Shuriko committing the flicker for that. The exuberance wears off the Dark Dominion to pull him in just a little bit longer, and he is going to trade his life for that, so a positive for Team Queso.
Yeah, they end that whole team fight, traded about even, and they only lost their side lane and mage for exactly the same opposing them. So, all in all, maybe you can make the argument Team Queso are doing fine, but unfortunately the orders the kills came in gives Bubble Team map control. They not only take some of the TQ jungle, they also, of course, take that Abyssal. And this gives them enough of a gold lead. I'm now worried.
I love that play from the noob, though, casting the Dark Dominion onto Lilu to try and keep the tower alive. They do trade towers through all this, but as that fight ended, before the Abyssal Dragon was taken for Bubble Team, they were only 1,000 gold ahead. Team Queso was definitely looking much more solid in this game, and I think a lot of this is on the back of Yavix right now. He's been making some big plays, and just doing stuff like this, not allowing Bubble Team to feel comfortable in their jungle.
They've got much better tower rotations this game from Team Queso, and that's really showing because it's giving them the map control. And for a team where their primary weakness was map control, that's nice to see.
We are seeing the map control of Bubble Team going in there as the gank in the jungle is real, the Nature's Rally, but the Angelic Splendor as well. The Noob is left out on an island, the Wailing Blade stun, the Malleus to follow up. And that was the pick Bubble Team needed.
By the way, we hit the 10-minute mark. Can you tell? Because Bubble Team are suddenly playing so aggressive.
Lilu's gotten his key items, and that's the big difference. Rez actually completely whiffing that ult right there as Javix is going in with the Ryu as well. Lilu was forced back off the Reiki shot, but Darkbreaker is here on the flank to keep the team in good position, being that frontliner.
You can always tell a Bubble Team game. You could cut the timer out and just show their play.
Minutes? I think it's 10 minutes.
You could show their play, and I would be able to guess when it's 10 minutes based on how aggressive they played, because now they have all their items, they're able to play super into the enemy jungle, they're able to start really pushing. A fun thing I've been seeing as of late, and I don't really know the reason for this, I'll be honest, I'm going to need to ask some people. A whole bunch of junglers are building Leviathan. We're seeing that now, not just on a couple of the Violets we saw, but on this Fennec as well. So there must be something shifting in the meta where the players feel that that's a necessary item to pick up as opposed to many of the more traditional jungle items.
Well, we're definitely going to have to ask some of those pros because I'm curious as well. That's an adaptation that we're seeing more of late, but Ruiz starting to hit hard as well. We have to talk about the scaling of the Liliana as well as Javix is going in. There's the Ryu, the combo, and look at the Liliana damage, bringing Memorize back in. Javix is getting oh so low, the Angelic Splendor as well. Ruiz has the shield, but he is in a rough position, trying to run away, split for his team, peel back, good call from him, realize he needs to sacrifice himself to get the rest of the squad out.
So well done with that Chain Hammer Cyclone from Lilu. He might have gone down, but he set his team up perfectly for success. Two players are committed on top of you. They will die immediately after.
This is a 4v4, and there's still some ults available on the side of Team K, so they're going in with the shock right now. Rez is going to be the target. He's the tower aggro as well. The Spectral to keep him alive as the Exuberance is in the back. Shurko diving into the tower. Ibuchichi's peeling. Rez is going to be the target in the back. Kept alive beautifully, though. Barbara surviving so long, but not enough to secure the kill.
But Barbara did stay long enough to clear a wave, which means that tower will survive. Bubble Team, though, do get complete jungle control, and their gold lead is doing nothing but building, growing, and getting almost insurmountable at this point.
5K is now the difference as we look towards the post 10-minute mark. The Enraged Abyssal Dragon is going to be a key factor, as well as this Dark Slayer when it comes to these pushes. But you have to talk about the macro of Team K. So these tower rotations, as you mentioned, they have only lost tier 1 towers. They're still actually sitting in a not a bad position. And Liliana and Violet in the late game, you cannot deny the scaling potential of those heroes.
No, and it is good to see. I'm happy to see that they are showing up here. But I think, for instance, this Javix play is an example of how Team Queso still need to make things work.
We do see a lot of commitments on ultimates there. Shurko not getting caught in that, forced to escape now with the Exuberance, but the Dark Dominion is there to bring him in, the Angelic Splendor. So all 5 members, or all 4 members of Bubble Team are here. Ryoma is still split pushing all the while onto the tower. Lilu is going to be the target. He is going to escape just a moment longer. Javix trying to commit with the Shadow. Does trade the kills. There's the follow-up, the death sight from the Noob, but the Healing Light is keeping them alive, and Ibuchichi goes down. Not able to save him as Team Queso is forced back onto the high ground.
A great example of the communication there. Bubble Team are able to flicker through, chase down Ibuchichi as soon as he becomes a problem.
Those were some sick dodges at the end from the Noob, though. That Wailing Blade, you know that Rez is like, I got this, and that was like the sickest of little jukes there. I think if Shurko had gotten caught in that shock to start that fight, he was on the very edge of the animation, that would have actually been completely different, because that tiny bit of damage was what Team Queso needed. And Javix, he full committed on the Shadow, but the fact that he burned his Ryu to start that fight and didn't have it for when they clumped off of the back of that Dark Dominion, that's how they won that first fight, and that's what they need to be doing again. Javix is playing too aggressive. As great as his play is, he's not setting up his team for success.
Like I said at the very start of that fight, when he goes in 1v3 like that, there's very little the opponents can do. Or the rest of the team can do, because he's just fed his ultimate, he's just stood there and stunned them, and especially with the Pura on Memorized, they can heal up that chip damage. It means very little for the fight, and you've just upset them and wasted your ult.
And that's a big ult. That is a massive AoE cleanse for you, a stun for them. So you want to be making sure that you use that at the perfect time, as both of these teams are looking towards this Dark Slayer.
The average game time for Team Queso is normally about 14 minutes. And we're just passing that right now. Bubble Teams, by contrast, sits around 16 minutes. So they're still on par for their ideal game.
Both teams are split pushing like crazy here as the foreman is going out. The Nature's Rally for Memorize just out of range of the noob, as Dartbreaker and Ruiz are going toe-to-toe in the mid. We actually saw Yavex creep cutting up in this bottom lane here, which is going to give them a little bit more time in this next fight, which means all 5 members will be able to arrive and look for a big brawl as Lilu is starting out this Dark Slayer. The noob is potentially going to look to go in and try and contest this. Memorize going to be the target, already burning this. Ruiz actually snipes it!
That was insane, and it was because Bubble Team were insane. I was watching that. Memorized is the only player on guard duty, and he does not have the damage to threaten people back. Normally, you put your side laner there to make sure that people can't just hover immediately outside the Dragon Den, but Bubble Team, for some reason, don't think it's necessary.
They needed Darkbreaker there. He needed to be there with the shields. He needed to have the HP, the damage, the threat of the stun, but now we see a potential party bush in mid.
So the normal Bubble Team game time is right now, because this is what they normally do. They get to this point, they take Darkslayer, they push down the course, 16 minutes, we're right on par. Unfortunately, with that steal, Team Queso are now going to be able to play defense for a really, really long time. Because they have the Drake, provided they don't take a fight during the Abyssal, or even contest it, there's going to be a very good chance they can extend this past the 15-minute mark where we're at right now, get full item builds, and then it's a tie game.
Then it's a tie game, and you have a late game Violet, a late game Liliana, even Malik as well. When he builds up his tankiness, he's tough to deal with.
And look at how just the summoning of the Drake has forced all the Bubble Team to fall back and focus on it, completely dissuading them from contesting this Abyssal.
They get a free tower as well off the back of this. We see Dartbreaker going back to his split push Zennial ways, but Barbara and crew, they're going to look to try and set up a fight right now. Memorize is looking to bait them in. You can feel it. They cannot clump too much, Team Queso, because one big exuberance can change the entire game.
And Shirko has been on point with those, so be careful of the Death Ball, be careful of the Puriginar. Use your kite well. All the fights they've earned so far have been from Ibu, Chichi, and Ruiz, hovering at the back, playing in the damage.
What I love that Team Queso is doing is they are leashing this dragon. They are not allowing Bubble Team to get a moment on this dragon. Dartbreaker is baiting out the rest of the team here, so watch for Bubble Team to instantly start to pick up this dragon. Look at the stun, the spin actually going out and canceling the Angelic Splendor from Yavik, so that's nicely done here, but the dragon does still go the way of Bubble Team. That was massive. They realized that they had a body advantage on the field, and they capitalized on it. That's a huge team fight buff for them, TJ. Yeah,
Team Queso cannot take a team fight, and they no longer have the Drake. They've just got to play this back underneath the towers. If they allow a pick during this phase, Yavex, things are going to go really badly for them.
Bubble Team needs to force something now. They need to use this advantage. They cannot allow Team Queso to stall this out any longer, because as you mentioned, the later this goes, the more even this gets.
There are 3 Blades of Eternity, the Resurrect item on the board. We'll have to see how those play out during this team fight.
Do see another tower going down. Rez not hitting these Wailing Blades the way he needs to be right now, so we need to watch for those as this continues. Rez needs to be a target, maybe an instant pick here for Team Queso, depending on how these fights go. They're doing a pretty good job defending the high ground so far. The cleave from Barbara, though, is keeping him in there, trying to trade out. A heal is already being forced, but the healing light of Memorize will allow infinite sustain.
You're running a poke comp into a Pura composition. It does not matter if you find big damage with the Violet, with the poke from Ruiz, because it can just be healed up if they decide to disengage around Memorized. So it is all about finding sustained burst. Yes, find the burst, find it onto the same target, burn down one person during a second.
That's what they need to do right now, but look at how tanky Memorized already is. It's an interesting build right now from the Pura. He just took a full combo from Ruiz, and he's like, that's fine.
Yeah, because he is the Aegis and the Gaia standard, there's very, very little that's going to be able to burn through him.
Whoa.
However, the true damage from the cleave is one of those things.
That is, look at the poke damage. Ibu, Chichi, Ruiz, they got on the same page. Even Memorize is going to have a hard time to clean this up. I need Team Queso to go in right now. They just did the chip. They need to reset. They need to fight this before it gets totally healed up by Memorize. This is their moment. The buff just went away. This is their chance to fight.
Unfortunately, they're licking their own wounds and playing this very, very cautiously. We talked earlier about the Blades of Eternity. I'll tell you exactly who those are on. That's going to be Darkbreaker on the Zennial and, of course, on Rez. That's 2 Resurrects on melee characters, which means that in the backlines, they're going to get a second, if they charge right into the backlines, they're going to get a second lease on life and potentially Resurrect, causing great trouble as the fight moves past them.
So far, we have 2 on Team Queso, 2 on Bubble Team, so we'll see how that continues, as Barbara is going to be grabbing it, as well as Yavex. Having a second life on him, I feel like, would definitely be useful.
Yeah, again, it's the same priority. Melee characters that can dive into the backlines, you want them to be able to resurrect, come back, do damage just after the other team thinks they've slain them.
However, over on the Slayer side, we saw a sneaky little oh, the noob barely missing that I swear that animation, it just needs like 2 or 3 more pixels. It looks like you got him every time.
That was just very clever play. Lulu says,
That's out
I'm just going to slide through here.
That was a pure out macro.
Yeah, you lose track of wave for one moment. This is something Team Queso consistently do. They overgroup.
Keep in mind, this is now a 20-minute game. Team Queso doesn't often go to this point. This is mentally fatiguing. This is mentally tiring. This is the first team to make a big mistake, or in this case, finding a key pick in the back onto Lilu, who's able to survive the initial burst. The Angelic Splendor is coming in as well. As now the rest of the side of Bubble Team is going in. Ruiz is going to be the target. The shock is there too little too late. The initial pick is there. Rez is going in deep. He will have the respawn as well, so he's not afraid to die. The noob with another great pickup, getting him again. Nicely done. Ibuchichi survives.
Ibuchichi doing such a good job that fight. They got outplayed. Bubble Team read their play perfectly, uses the Angelic Splendor to bait out the rest of the engage, then goes in with the Nature's Rally, but Ibuchichi's survival gives them the damage they need.
They're going back in now. There's the Nature's Rally being burned. Darkbreaker needs to be cautious as the true damage is there. Yavix is on the flank trying to find Lilu. There's the Rio. The follow-up is there, but the heal going to be doing a great job of keeping him alive. Shurko's trying to split the fight beautifully, take them out in the back, but it looks like more bodies are here for Bubble Team on the front line. Shurko does secure the kill on Ibuchichi. That is massive, and he survives through all of it somehow. The tankiness of the Jin. Our Darkbreaker once again trying to get himself up, but he falls. No, he comes right back on in. He does have the Resurrect, but the Angelic Splendor does not go off, as now the individual scraps are breaking down. Yavix is trying to survive, but the rest of the team of Bubble Team is still in this. Yavix, what are you doing?
Yavix, why are you fighting their tankiest character whilst your backline is getting wiped by their mage? You have Ibuchichi, he is the only reason you win fights, and instead of protecting him against their mage Shurko literally just walking forward at him, you're doing this!
And he's staggering deaths. He's going to get picked again.
Yeah.
Now Ruiz is going to fall trying to bail him out. No, that needs to not be what happens here.
I'm really upset with how little priority Team Queso put on protecting Ibuchichi during that fight. He was the reason they won it during the opening phase. He's doing massive damage. He is your carry in every sense of the word.
He needs to... everybody's six-stacked. Everybody is six-stacked at this point. We're going to have a res on Lilu as well now. So we're going to see how that plays out, as the Dark Slayer is going to be the target now for Bubble Team. 4 seconds on the Abyssal Dragon as well.
Where we're at with death timers, if Team Queso loses a decisive fight, they've lost the game, and Bubble Team will have the tools to make any fight decisive.
Free Dark Slayer, and that's because Yavix. Because Yavix
overextended.
Because he overextended.
He is not up. They do not have 5 people. They cannot gain the map control. And that is heartbreaking.
I was singing his praises because he started this game so well. His aggressive play was exactly what Team Queso needed. But now it's put them in a position where they literally cannot seal this game. All 5, in a minute, all 5 members of Bubble Team are going to have 2 lives.
This is going to be the enraged Abyssal Dragon, also going to Bubble Team, granting them all the buffs they need. They're somewhere in their heads, they've decided, okay, we normally play 16-minute games. This has gone over. Let's make sure we can close it here.
Yeah, let's play this. Let's just play this to win, guys. Let's not just take any half-team fights, because I got to give props to Team Queso.
Yeah, they showed up here. Unfortunately, we're still seeing sloppy mistakes, and I hope they can clean them up by game 2, because to be honest, with these 2 buffs, I'd start thinking about game 2.
I have to say, if somehow Team Queso can win this with these buffs, that would be a miracle.
The one thing they need to do during this fight is protect Ibuchichi. That is their win condition. As the Drake comes through in bot lane, watch Ibuchichi's positioning, watch Shurko in particular diving him.
The Chainhammer Cyclone is going in, the counter shock as well. Nicely done from Barbara, as Rez is getting absolutely deleted. Nicely done. He's going to be back in the fight. Deleted, though, once again, as the exuberance is there, but Ruiz is staying alive, and so is Ibuchichi. They've extended too far. The high ground tower does fall, but Barbara is surviving through all of this. Ibuchichi needs to be the target. Shurko's getting very low, and that is going to be the pickup there. He's going to come back. The noob doing a great job appealing for his team, but the heal for Memorized is still up.
Who stayed alive that entire fight?
Ibuchichi!
Who won the entire fight?
Ibuchichi!
Team Queso, who knew if you protect your carry in the back lines, you protect your game.
They protected their mage, they protected their marksman, they lost the high ground, but you know what? They're alive, and I cannot believe they are alive.
Yeah, they lost the high ground in a fight into 2 buffs. That was the ideal fight for them, because when it started, all of their tanks, the new Barbara especially grouped, made sure nobody got to Ibuchichi, and anyone who did get through that wave was quickly deleted because Ibuchichi was playing the distance well.
Barbara played that perfectly. Rez went in alone, 4-man shock in the back line. Nobody else could follow him. He got deleted twice. He had the Rez, and they took him down again, and now we're actually seeing Team Queso pushing in, and Ruiz is hitting like a truck right now. The full combo going in. Going to be able to heal up the chip damage as Bubble Team, though, and that is the difference because Team Queso cannot continue to pursue this. They need to back up right now because Darkbreaker's looking for an engage. Where is the Malleus? It's going to be going in here. Can they find a key target? Barbara's going to be there. He is super tanky, but if the follow-up is there from Bubble Team,
one thing that's worrying me is how Group TQ are. This is a good sign during team fights. I like to see them protect their backlines, but a consistent problem for them in overall map control. And you can see the effect it's having as they haven't gained enough wave push. Mid and bot lane are still marching into their base.
However, they do see the opening there. There's the big Dark Dominion, the stun, the follow, the taunt is there. Instant deletion, but Shurko on the flank is there. They're going to have the Angelic Splitter to go in once again, but Ibuchichi is still alive. Somehow Bubble Team has survived through this. There's the re-engage from Darkbreaker. What's looked like a terrible start for Bubble Team. They turned it around off the back of Shurko. These exuberances have been monstrous. Yavix is in the back. He gets a key pickup there onto Lilu, but it's just too little too late. He has the Ryu to try and stay alive, but they are on the core. Bubble Team deciding this is where we stand. This is where they die.
At the beginning of yesterday, we said Team Queso showed up and they were ready to play. Now, today, we find that fact to be just as true as Team Queso and Bubble Team just finished the longest game in the Valor series to date. Welcome back to the desk. That was quite one way to start it, but at the end of the day, who is the one that walks away with the quad kill? None other than Shurko himself.
He just lived for so long.
That's the best part.
Oh my goodness.
When you play Jinnar,
You just have to be.
You press a button and you just survive.
And that was consistently what managed to break the TQ line. When they had these great engages, it was almost always Shurko who just activated his exuberance and plowed through everything. And they didn't really seem to have an answer to it.
And they executed the combo of that fight. It was the sight, because they said
I knew they were in trouble though when Shurko was just lurking around the side. Yeah.
Because they sent the Forest Sentry into the bush, like, Mina's not there. Mina was there, and then she came in and just, oh, it was good.
Shurko had more kills himself than any other player on the entirety of Team Queso added up together. 12 kills for himself, 10 kills for the entirety. Shurko finishes himself with almost 40% of his team's damage, easily walking away with the MVP there for that team. But breaking this down a little bit more, I think the point that you made, TJ, was the kind of thorn in the side, the wound that Bubble Team was able to open. There was nothing that Queso could do to stop Shurko when he decided to go in, and as a result, the more that Jinnar was able to scale, the more that was able to play into effect, the less that Queso was able to have an impact.
It was kind of, I think, a microcosm of why TQ, and this may have been very intelligent research by Bubble Team, it was why Team Q fell from the top team in the Spanish scene, and it was that death ball composition. When the other Spanish teams started running it, TQ didn't really seem to have an answer, and that held true here. Because whenever they spent their engages, they were always treating it like a fortress comp. They were always treating it like a normal team fight. And if you go for a really good engage and start off great, and you haven't triggered Nature's Rally, and you haven't triggered Exuberance, there is still so much more that a Death Ball comp can do to you, because they haven't used anything that remotely approaches the crux of their damage. So they'd go in, they'd spend all their engage, and then you get Nature's Rally, and then you get Exuberance, and they would win the fight anyway. Time and time again, that's exactly what Bubble Team did.
You take a look at Team Queso versus Bubble Team, and it was essentially 3 acts, if we want to talk about it from the standpoint of theater. Act number 1 of our AT&T replay was the beginning of the game, where Team Queso found themselves the victories.
This fight
was so good. It was a work of art.
And Ibuchichi, their kiting was kind of, to me, what almost won them the game because he was able to play back TQ. I think Yavex was the star of the early game especially.
You found yourself in Act 1 with success. You found yourself now in Act number 2, where it was none other than Ibuchichi that stayed alive and did the damage.
Because he was protected so well here by the noob, Yavex and Barbara, they three-man focus. Ruiz came in as well. They were able to hold the line, and Ibuchichi stayed up in the back lines this entire fight, dealing as much damage as possible.
And then finally, at the end of this fight, we find ourselves in Act 3, where there is always someone, a shining star that comes out of nowhere and essentially ruins your day. That shining star is Shurko, as he finds himself a quadra kill at the end of this fight. And I think that this fight is a huge example of why this Bubble team, if they continue to perfect themselves, can be a front runner in the Valor series here in Europe.
We saw them definitely sort out their priorities. As the game went on, they went, okay, it's Ibuchichi that's the problem. And so then we had that second fight we just watched where they were clearly intent on killing Ibuchichi, and thankfully Team Queso were able to just outplay them on the engage.
Barbara was sick.
And then they worked out that Barbara, Yavex, the tanks needed to go down first, and they did that third fight, and that was how they were able to break the entirety of Team Queso.
Now,
if every game, real quick, John,
yeah,
if
go ahead.
as we would be here forever, but if every game of Arena of Valor looked like that, it's just, that would be amazing, because that was such a beautiful game.
So this is something, though, that, and you've alluded to it, both of you have alluded to it over the last couple weeks, but Team Queso, if that game wasn't the purest example of, unfortunately, what they're struggling with, it clearly was so. Team Queso has had games. Their early game has been fantastic. They've had games where their mid game is fantastic. They've had games where their late game is fantastic. But they've been unable to string cheese together these three the way that you need them to be able to do so. You have to have a complete game. You have to have this complete setup, and Team Queso have yet to been able to piece that together.
But they show the potential, and I think they're so close.
We only got 2 weeks left, Paul.
If
weeks
this happened
left.
2 weeks ago, they would be no question. But if they keep playing like this, they definitely have a chance to secure themselves that top 4 spot.
My teachers always said I had potential too, but I never activated any of it, and I don't think Team Queso are either.
You did. You found yourself on the Valor Series desk.
Oh, thanks, John.
You're doing exactly what you want to be doing in your life. What are you saying, TJ?
Fair enough. Bubble Team, though, I think also demonstrated some of their flaws here.
Yes.
Because their early game aggression, the early game aggression that really showed up and made them a team we were saying could contest Nova, wasn't there. They did nothing in the early game, and that hurt them.
They went in like, oh, they got rebuffed once. They got rebuffed twice. They got that great team fight. I thought, look, nope. We're gonna turtle. And they look shell-shocked.
And you also got to see the biggest gamble on Bubble Team's roster in Darkbreaker. Every time Darkbreaker enters a fight, you roll the dice and hope to God that it lands on a 6. Because if it doesn't land on a 6, you're not going to have the high score, and Darkbreaker's going to find a way to do something wrong. Unfortunately, that being the case, his inconsistency does find itself in a difficult situation. But now, the ban phase has ended. Pura gets taken off the table. It is a Valheim first pick for Bubble Team.
Hope for nat 20s. That's what you're hoping for.
Fun fact, Bubble Team has the longest average game time in the European Valor series. 16 minutes, and you see why. It feels like oftentimes they don't come online until that 10-minute mark.
I think the biggest difference in that game was, we'll talk about this draft a little bit. Valheim first pick, so going to try and deny as much of the death ball as possible. Zenial Pura not there. Actually banned up by Bubble Team themselves, knowing Team Queso can also run that. We have the Malik Crashed. What a front line for TQ.
TQ love Malik, they love Crash. This is too strong engage. If you go for a death pool versus this, you're more like a death pancake because you're going to get squished.
Splat.
I think more importantly, this is an improvement of Team Queso recognizing the difficulties of their composition in the last game. You touched upon it quite frequently, TJ, in the cast, in that Team Queso doesn't have a way to stop the engage of Bubble Team. What better way to compensate for that and to change things than to pick the Crash and to have yourself that front line? But now, Bubble Team rebuttals immediately with a Liliana, which we have seen Shurko do to great heights, as well as a Chognar to get that anti-CC.
This is a lot of damage, and this is the chaos protection that they need into what is going to be the hyper-engage of Queso. I need to see more from Rez in this game. I think part of the reason that last game went so long is because Rez's Ryoma it was there. And
it's about the kindest thing you can say about it.
Yeah, it was there.
So this is actually the piece of kind of critique that I have for Bubble Team. Because you find yourself res in these difficult situations, he ends up near on the Dragon lane, and I don't think that that is where he exceeds the most. I think if you send him to Slayer lane, you let him essentially solo island himself, he finds himself in better situations. Now we're going to have to see if that's the case, whether or not he's going to be put on that Valheim.
Team Queso do build an interesting composition here, though. They have that double engage up front, then they're going to have the Jinnar as their backline mage, then they're going to have the Fennec. Now, right off the bat, what I'm seeing is an issue is they don't have a lot of engagement tools, and all the engagement tools that they do have are self-activated. So you're going to have that Crash, that Mallet go into the front lines, and then you're going to have a relatively squishy backline left behind. And that calls for exactly this. The Kriknak coming through is an option just to instantly annihilate a Fennec who's hovering a bit too long in the back line.
So this is, we go in and press your buttons, and you go in and press your buttons, and we hope we trade more at the end of all this. That's really what this draft is. Yeah, with the Irie. Okay, there is no backline anymore. 4 members of Team Queso are going to look to go in, whether it be an Irie or a Zuka. 4 members are going to go in. They are going to blow up 2 members of Bubble Team and hope for the best.
I like this margin much more. TQ
it's a little safer.
They need a stable, another source of damage
Consistent
to hover the backline. Because, yeah, thank you. What they have against them in Bubble Team is like a quintessential Bubble Team comp. Lightweight, late game activation, 1 key tank. That's going to be the Arduin. Then they'll have that Shocknar as well, relying almost on him as an engage tool. We see that a bit depending on who's playing, and Memorized, I think, does this very well. You have good timing on the Chaos protections, and then you go. And if you're able to do that, if you're able to just dive into an enemy backline, they have to pay attention to you, and it forces, unlike I think any other tank, players to put damage into the tank.
Well, speaking of tanks and damage, and Arduin and Bubble Team, who has played, I don't know, one of the best Arduins we've ever seen in the battle? Maybe is it Rez? Oh, is it Rez?
Yeah,
I think it was
that is ringing a bell.
I think the only game
it's like a church bell.
Yeah, that Alliance really succeeded was off the back of his. Yeah.
Well, if you have to think about Rez and his performance on Arduin, you also have to think on the other side of the board, the inconsistencies that Lilu has had on that Kriknak. Something that we criticize a lot of Kriknak players for in the Valor series is the lack of flanking opportunity. This is something that Latin America, specifically in Irie and other heroes, do very well. They're great at getting themselves those angles and flanking themselves around. This has not been a strength of Lilu on that Kriknak. It will be an X factor on them, specifically in the early game, on how he's able to out-pressure that Fennec for Team Queso.
I think I want to also see how Yavex performed, because he had a really good early game. We were really giving him props for that, but it was very individual style, and that hurt the team once we got to the late game, where he had to be more with the team and functioning more as a team-fight asset.
I think that was 2 factors. I think the Zenio play from Bubble Team was so good that he was constantly having to play, I just need to clear 1 more wave, I should need to do 1 more thing, and that put him just a little bit behind. And then also, he had really good success in the early game, and he got confident, and then he got overconfident. And it bit him a little bit. And then he's priority, I'm just going for kills, guys, that's my job, I'm Irie, I'm going for kills. But it's not always your job. And I think they reined him in a little bit at the very late game, but if I can see early game Avex, that'll be good.
Well, as TJ highlighted at the beginning, the battle for top 6 is all in the cards. We find ourselves with 2 weeks left remaining in the Valor Series, and if there's anything that you want to catch up on at all, make sure you head on over to our website. That's ValorSeriesEsports.com, so you can find out all of the information that has happened as well as what's to come. We found ourselves with an all-out brawl, a barn burner, if you might say, the longest game in the Valor Series for game number 1, but now it is already time to get ourselves on the Antares battlefield for game number 2 of Bubble Team versus Team Queso.
I mean, if Team Queso can channel the energy that we saw in that game number 1, this is not going to be cut and dry. Bubble Team clutched it out in the end, but it was truly a clutch.
This is going to be a rip and wet game, absolutely. It's the opposite of cut and dry.
Wow.
The point is, these 2 teams will be really, really close here. And I want to see more of Yavex. I think he's definitely going to have an interesting matchup as we get towards the late game, because we know Rez roams on the Arduin, which means I'm going to keep an eye as to how they match up in those kind of jungle engagements in the mid-late game.
At least this time around, he's going to have like a little bit of an easier time not having to deal with the global pressure that we're going to see executed here by Darkbreaker.
There's no Zenial that needs to be shut down.
I mean, you still need to shut down the Valheim. Don't get me wrong. You still need to shut down Darkbreaker because mechanically, he is insanely gifted. He just needs to be... Actually, I think him and Yavex, you can actually draw a lot of parallels between these 2 players, both incredibly mechanically gifted players who need to work, who like to make big plays, but who also need to work around their teams.
We'll have to see. Mid lane, Team Queso are already looking for picks, playing very aggressive, and that might give them an opportunity to maybe grab Lilu down the bottom here.
It's definitely their target. So we are seeing good initial poke coming out from Shurko. Shurko's Liliana, as we know, is one of the scariest things on 2/4 legs.
I think it's just 3. I think you just average them.
That's not how legs work, TJ, my God! As Team Queso are already lining up around this Burst Abyssal Dragon, I gotta give props to, oh, Bubble Team didn't actually unleash that as quite as well as they wanted to there. But either way, Team Queso is in a spot where they're just playing this not too aggressive because they want to allow Ibuchichi to get that farm, because we know how when Fennec gets hyper farmed, he's a little scary.
I'm keeping a close eye, actually, on the noob, and he's not level 4 yet, which means this Metamorphosis will not be available. That's because of how much time he spent roaming in the early game.
That's a big cleave coming in, and the big flicker on the Exuberance as well. And that is the noob grabbing the Abyssal Dragon. Nicely done.
Ibuchichi, or sorry, Lilu going down during that fight. The opposing jungler to Ibuchichi. That's a strong start for Team Queso.
Seems to be the trend. He drone drops and then keeps falling right on through the floor and back to the restart screen.
There are no drones allowed here. We've got regulation against that.
Yeah, seriously, you need a permit. It's California. Get it together, Lilu!
And well, it's been working well. Team Queso again in complete control of the map, and Yavex has been doing a great job against Darkbreaker up top. You can see using those Ghost Walks to outlane a Valheim.
That Bullet Storm juke was sick. He baited that perfectly right there. Ruiz doing a nice job trading against Memorized and Shurko in the mid, forcing Memorized back. Great stage right now, 7.5 to 7.1. Team Queso once again in the lead. As you mentioned, feeling very confident in this early game. I like it. They're playing just aggressive enough.
Marja actually has one of the higher win rates in the sideline, sitting at 43.75. That's a very, very strong side lane win rate, and I think it's because when you're playing a Marja, you have that Ghost Walk to dodge the primary abilities of other sideline characters.
I wish Barbara had that right now, as Lilu's going in with that drone drop, chunking away at his HP. But luckily, if anyone's going to be able to take it, it's going to be the Malik. Watch for his tankiness and scaling as we move into the mid game. As we do see the shock going in, Lilu, nice dodge there with the Horn Rush, going to be able to get himself out.
Barbara has been so good these last 2 games. On
Yes.
the Malik,
Oh, yeah.
this has been a profound step up from the player. He's always been decent, but it really does seem like he understands his role within this team much better, and I'm seeing their positioning as a whole be able to step up because they have him being a beefy boy in the front line.
Well, we always talk about this. We talk about if the side laners play well, if they do well, everything else gets easier. Your jungle is easier to protect. You can execute more pressure. Your mid is under less threat because you're not facing off against those rotations from their side laners. That's what we're seeing. Both side laners from Team Queso are stepping up, and the rest of the team is benefiting from it.
Fortunately, Bubble Team are still one of the best teams in Europe, and you're seeing it here. Rez, one of the best side laners in Europe, already level 6, and you're going to start seeing the Coles activate.
Forcing a defensive Exuberance from Ruiz. If I'm Team Queso, I need to back out right now. You do have the Metamorphosis as a last-ditch attempt. However, Chaos Protection will be there as the counter.
Because you spend that Exuberance, there is almost no way you can then take this fight. The noob will probably spend Metamorphosis just for poke, but nothing more.
The shock is going in, forcing them back off the Abyssal Dragon. Here it's going to come the Chain Hammer Cyclone as well. There we go, Chaos Protection, perfectly timed. Bubble Team is going to pick up the Dragon, but Rez is going to be the target. Can they get him on the way out? There's the Flicker and the follow-up as well. The Ghost Walk to secure the kill. Nicely done. He's training out a Dragon for a kill. Not bad for TQ.
Memorized, so good on that Chaos Protection, though. He saw that coming. Not
it was
fooled for a
pretty
second.
telegraphed, TJ. It was pretty telegraphed. He went in there.
He knows Morse code.
That's
he
true.
knew exactly when the telegraph was coming in, and he was able to read it, decode it, and use the Chaos Protection just to deny the impact of the Metamorphosis. And that is much harder than it seems, because if you spend the Chaos Protection to deny any number of smaller CC, any number of smaller stuns, then they actually would have gotten destroyed by a well-placed Metamorphosis there.
What I'm actually wanting to see is they're doing it in the wrong order. Shock is being dodged by most players on Bubble Team. They're fairly nimble. However, Metamorphosis, it ends with a big ol' stun. If you can actually time it out, Metamorphosis is much harder to dodge, especially if he's right up in your face. I want to see the Metamorphosis going first and then planning Barbara the shock where they're going to land. Channel that CC out, throw the Chain Hammer Cyclone on top of that, get the Flicker Exuberance on top of that, and that's what we call a wombo combo.
And there is a little bit of a knock-up on the shock, so if you can time it perfectly, then it works out. But I think the problem there was actually Memorized used his shock wave to have immunity for the shock. So because of Chognar's passive, he actually didn't get knocked up from the shock, then he used Chaos Protection, and then they were immune to the Metamorphosis.
We're actually seeing Shock being used now to clear minion wave, denying any additional little impact there as well, as Yavix is forcing back Darkbraider, trading well, but we do have now a Fennec coming into the tower, and watch how fast this tower falls. 3, 2, oh, it's gone.
Bye!
Bye, tower!
Ibuchichi so strong, and this is a good sign.
As Lilu is also going in, though, playing aggressive, finding a solo kill onto Barbara. We were singing his praises, and we're actually giving Lilu a bit of a hard time, but he's been like, guys, it's fine. In a 1v1 situation, I know what I'm doing.
The big problem for both these junglers, Lilu and Ibuchichi, they should really appreciate each other's plight. They both get shut down. They don't have enough defense. Here versus each other, two very passive teams, they're both suffering. Well, not suffering equally, and we're seeing strong games from both Ibuchichi and Lilu.
He's forced to use the Metamorphosis to clear the minion wave. To save the tower, though, is Team Queso, and a lot of poke damage being done by Shurko off the flank of this. Rez is going to look potentially go in. Watch for the call from him to start things off right now, as well as memorized here. His Chaos Protections to be perfectly timed. He's going to go in there. The noobs to be in the front line. Nice dodge on the Blinding Light. As Lilu is here, just chunking down this Abyssal Dragon. Team Queso very smartly, just letting it go.
Disengaging, allowing Alliance to pick it up, knowing that's unfortunate, but there's not a whole lot they have left to properly contest.
Rez needs to be careful, though, because Ibuchichi, he starts stacking up those Thief Marks. That can be pretty difficult to deal with, especially with Marsha on the flank right now, back on the bottom. Rez is going to be the target for
Yavix.
The Ghostwalk's there. They've already taken down this tower. There's the Chainhammer Cyclone. Perfectly timed. The flank from Ruiz is here. But look at the split! The Chaos Protection is there. I think Rez is still going to drop, but still, what a massive play from him. No, he's not. It's Rez on Ardswin. What am I saying? The shock to force him back. Barbara, you are crazy. There's the cleave. One more, and he actually gets him. But Barbara potentially going to give his life. The heal's coming through as well. Shurko's now committed in the Fox form, and they're going to try and escape. The soul is there. What?
Remember all those times I said, by the way, Rez used to be the top 1v1 player in Europe? That's that demonstrating itself right there. He understands his opponent's movements better than they do. They don't know what they're doing. He does.
Oh, no. We're seeing additional stuns coming in. The Bullet Storm now. You're 100% correct, though. That split, he's like, you're going to run through the Chaos Protection right? No, I'm going to actually run backwards. What?
Well, it was because that was his only viable option, but, you know, I'm brain dead. I would have run through the Chainhammer Cyclone.
Same.
I would have rather taken the damage of the Chainhammer Cyclone than taken a dive down mid, but because of the positioning, the second he saw that flank come through from Ruiz, he knew there was no way there was anyone to punish his leaving through jungle.
Speaking of punishing, Yavix is space creating, as we like to say, as we are seeing a full committal now onto this Darkslayer. Can Rez attempt to snipe this? He's going to try. No, the Thief's Mark is there. Oh, wait, it's spinning in the back. Oh, Rez, no. Oh, the noob just baited him so hard.
Welcome to the wave pool. He came in over the wall and there was instant metamorphosis.
Left his surfboard at home.
Yeah, that was devastating.
That was huge. So losing a tower with Team Queso, but getting a kill and getting that Darkslayer, you gotta feel good about that.
Unfortunately, Team Queso did lose a bot lane tower during that time, so overall the towers are still even, but they're ahead in gold, and with this mid-Drake, they may take this mid-tower.
Yavix gave his life for that, but what I really need to watch right now is Shurko. What initial chip damage does he get? There's no Pure in this game, guys, so all the chip that goes through is going to be there long-term. I love the positioning on this Drake, too. Look at it, just right over the wall.
Yeah,
able
so
to
smart.
chip away. That was beautifully played from TQ.
And they don't need to take another tower. That's enough of an advantage for them. They may poke for this next fight, but unless they find a good initiation, this is a good start. They're fine with it.
This is totally fine for them. They're dead even in terms of gold right now. The Abyssal Dragon is here. It's post 10 minutes, so it's going to be then a raged Abyssal Dragon. Nice snipe there on the red buff from the noob. They might look to go in right now, getting Ibuchichi out to the key target, watching for this. And so is Memorized. That case, you finger on the trigger on that.
TQ, the reason I'm saying that's fine is in addition to getting the tower there, they actually got both buffs. They actually
huge.
were able to invade and steal a lot of Bubble Team's jungle. That's why there has to be a counter invade right now from Lilu, and I'm not sure it was enough even with.
I love this positioning, though, from Ruiz and Ibuchichi to pull this Abyssal Dragon back.
They should not be doing this.
They should not be doing this. I mean, Marsh is not here. They absolutely cannot do this. This is a 5v4 for Bubble Team. Marsh needs to come right back down the Abyssal Dragon. I want actually continuing this from Bubble Team. They need to get this team fight buff. The noob is going to be the target, though. Chaining the CC perfectly. He's going to have to blow the Metamorphosis here. Yes, he does. The Chainhammer Cyclone, the combo is there. And there's the Chaos Protection going in, but Memorize is already so chunked. Great Essence of the Wind to keep him alive. The heal is coming in as well. Lilu in the back. The drone drop is there, forcing Ibuchichi. But there goes Ruiz with the exuberance. Nicely done. Getting the kill, forcing them right on back. Don't overcommit, Team Queso. Take your win.
They do. They back up after knocking everyone on Bubble Team low. There is no way that they're going to be able to take that Abyssal Dragon. So they use the Abyssal as bait, play back once a committal comes through, and they're able to turn a bad situation into a pretty darn good one off of the back of the noob using that Metamorphosis. They have a shock, they have the follow-up, Yavek's flickering over the wall, and now with the buff faded, or the debuff faded, they can properly go for this Abyssal.
And Ibuchichi is actually going to soul this right now. Giving him a strong front wall is the rest of Team Queso, knowing he can do this. They actually burn the Exuberance to take this down in time.
Did they just kite it out of range?
No, I think they're okay. I think they're okay.
Yeah, they did.
No, they did!
Yeah, they did.
Oh, that was huge. Okay, this is literally Bubble Team winning this game right now. That was a...
They've just used all their ults to try and fight Dragon.
No.
They cannot take this fight.
No.
They have to recall because of it. Ibuchichi, that misplay is going to haunt your dreams. I'm sorry.
That was... looked like something from one of my games in Ranked. That's no fun.
I've seen your games. I agree.
It's not very... Oh, no, Lulu, you just got tricked! It was all a prank, bro! As they go on in, they follow him up, forcing the Essence of the Wind, fully committing, though, on the back of the Metamorphosis. Great Chaos Protection, but the noob is the full follow-up right now. Rez is the target, the shock is there, just barely missing it. The Exuberance is being committed once more, the slowest, but Ruiz cannot get in range. Ibuchichi's trying to do as much damage as he can. That was silly. They are going to be pulled right on back. Lulu with another drone drop, the Horn Rush. He gets pulled down, but he's taken so many of them with them. Team Queso is in a terrible position. Why would they do that? Shurko is going off as well. Barbara is going to drop, and this is Bubble Team getting an insurmountable lead.
Okay, you make that misplay around the Dragon.
They tilted.
They tilted? Yeah, I 100% think that's what it was. Because of that misplay around the Dragon, they feel they have to earn back the ground they lost. They didn't actually lose that much. It was an unfortunate misplay. It definitely cost them potential. But going for that fight afterwards, spending all of their ultimates chasing their tank, well, you can see the results. It's going to be another 4 seconds until the vast majority of their team is up. This high ground may fall. It's all on Ruiz.
Ruiz needs to clear this minion wave. He will be able to do so, maybe at the cost of his own life. Valheim actually stay for that. That was a free kill. It's a bit of a misplay there as Rez is starting the Abyssal Dragon. The rest of the team is going to go back for this. And Team Queso will not be able to contest this in time. Darkbreaker has finished the new Valheim build, and it's sick. And watch for Darkbreaker to now be just one of the most annoying things in the world to deal with. They have the team fight buff. They have the towers. They're forced onto the high ground of Team Queso. They were doing so well.
Do you know Rez's average KDA in games he's played on Bubble Team is?
Oh, I imagine it's high.
5.3.
That's pretty good.
For a side lane, he's playing it really well. He also, of course, has one of the highest average gold gained on any team in the European region.
He farms so well.
Because he's so efficient at farming. And this is little things like we saw in that bottom lane earlier. He's so aware of where the enemy team is. That's why he's able to get cheeky little bits of farm.
We are seeing the full death ball coming online, though. They want to deny that farm from Bubble Team right now.
Well,
and Lilu, we need to be watching Lilu.
One of the problems, the reason I bring that up is because of how Group TQ are playing, that makes it so easy for Bubble Team to just get little poked, little jungle camps. Because TQ are so clustered, it's really easy for Bubble Team to just find out random jungle camps that aren't being contested and build up their gold lead till they have a 6 stack.
Bubble Team saw Marja in the mid right now. They know that Yavix is not necessarily going to be there. They do see him coming back in to rotate Collapse right now. But look at how long Lilu just sat in that bush. He was just patiently waiting for his opening.
Again, though, we are past the average game time for both teams at this point. We are, I think Bubble Team are actually 16 minutes, so given another minute, we'll be past the average game time for both teams. This is going to go long again because neither team has claimed a dominant lead.
And now Lilu is trying to bait the rest of the team. Is doing exactly that. That was the Exuberance burn. That's massive. The drone drop's going to go in, finds Ibuchichi and the noob. But Lilu's put himself in a rough spot. Essence of the Wind burn once again, not going to overcommit the shock though from Barbara. Good call.
Essence of the Wind is such a good item because though you say burned, and it's good terminology, it's up right again.
It is.
It's a very quick cooldown, and because of that, you're able to just constantly save allies. You never have to think about spending it. If somebody gets knocked low, spend it, and they get the speed boost as well as the extra shield. I
love it. Getting me a little bit more utility to the support class, really making them feel a lot more valuable. Memorize needs to be careful right now, though. He's walking in here, a little bit of damage going through, but we saw what happens when he gets chipped early to start fights. He just gets burned.
We talked about the Valheim build earlier. This is actually the Kite Valheim build, not the AP Valheim build. We've seen a shift towards magic damage Valheim, which I'm not a big fan of. Here instead, it's all about slows, all about stuns. If fights happen around the Valheim, you're going to be moving at the speed of a snail.
Yeah, real slow. He basically has like a Frosties built into his kit at this point. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
And it's not really easy to deal with, as Lilu is just doing such a great job of sniping out these jungle camps, but they realize that both teams have a bit of a split here. Lilu's going to be the target. Nice dodge there from him, the aquatic shield. But Ibuchichi has to be the target. Watch for Shurko to try and lay that damage in early.
I want to see Barbara be leading these fights, but you can see even him with his formidable HP is really struggling against the poker bubble team in this late game. And that's why Team Queso's grouped tendency really worries me, because that's punished so hard.
Every single member of Bubble Team has a great punish for the overstacking. That is Queso.
TQ always do this. When they get late game, they just group like this, and it's so weird and so obviously bad.
There's Memoris is just look, he's like bait, he's like, please let me use my chaos protection, and Shurko is just chipping them down. They just can't sustain this. Rez is now on the flank. He's gonna look to try and find an opening here. This is a 4v4 situation, but definitely favoring Bubble Team.
And I just want to see Team Queso spread out, get some map control. Stop playing as one 4-man stack because you're being punished for it.
Down in the bot lane, Marge is actually disrupting the backing of Lilu there as well. Says maybe could be a potential opening. Barbara needs to be careful. He's forced to use the shock to escape, but Memorized, of course, not going to be stunned from that. Chain Hammer Cyclone used a clear wave to try and protect this tower. Bubble Team is
on
playing
such a short
slow.
cooldown at this point. It's fine. But that engagement does give Bubble Team a chance to start poking around the Dark Slayer area. If they can secure confident control of either of the major objectives, they will go for it at this point.
The difference during all this, though, is the fact that we've seen Lilu split pushing, split farming, everything. He is now fully six stacked. He has the highest gold in the game right now. So the difference, of course, is Fennec hasn't been doing that. So let's see how this plays out here.
And Team Queso should be, like last game, we're seeing really good improvement on their tower rotations. They had a ton of good pressure. Here, we don't have that at all, and they've lost a lot of ground because of it.
Rez goes in, starts things off with the call. Barber's going to be the target here as well. He's going to have to use the shock to escape, moving, a tiny little bunny hop as Rez looks to re-engage that Metamorphosis, but it's way too late. We do have the Exuberance onto Rez, though. He is going to actually be able to escape a great flicker. Shurko is chasing down Ruiz in the flank. Barbara stays alive through all this somehow. Shurko is going to try and get the kill. Will be successful in the back, but he's now in really, really deep as Lilu's going to look to try and join this fray. Shurko needs to be cautious because Ibuchichi is still alive. The noob might be baited, though, as Lilu goes in, potentially trying to find an opening.
Good defense from Team Queso. They actually have the Blade of Eternity, I guess. I didn't realize that on Barbara. He's able to resurrect right in the backlines, trade evenly, take Rez down. That means TQ stay alive through the fight.
Ibuchichi needs to stay alive, though. The shock is going in.
Oh, poor Lilu.
Everything to Lilu, though, went in real deep to try and commit on that. The tower is chunking him down right now. He is still very squishy. He does, of course, have the Eternity, so he will be coming back into this. Look at the cleave damage, though, from Barbara. The heal is being forced. The Aquatic Shield, they're trying to force down this high ground tower. Darkbreaker is in the back, able to get this damage through as Ibuchichi falls!
Lilu's back due to his Blade of Eternity, and this tower is gone.
They have an opening on the high ground. They have minions here on the Slayer side. Lilu gets deleted, but it's absolutely okay. Yavix? Yavix, please.
He really wanted that kill on Darkbreaker, but you're seeing the effect of this stun build in these fights. You saw it just there. You saw it earlier. Barbara had like a solid minute where he just couldn't do anything because Valheim's so gross at this point.
Memorize needs to be very careful. If he staggers his death right now, that could be huge. Team Queso needs to not leash the Abyssal Dragon again.
I don't actually know if they have the speed to get this because Rez is in the area. He knows it's happening, and he has the HP to contest
No, they don't.
this.
They literally don't. Ibuchichi's not alive. Never mind. They literally can't do this.
I don't think they have the damage to kill this dragon quick enough, and Rez can just harass like this. He's just going to constantly be in the area as a contesting force. They cannot take this dragon.
They've actually, in fact, just set this up for Bubble Team to take as Rez and crew are going in. They don't have their Fennec. They literally can't do this. They are forcing it to leash, but the noob is going in so deep. The Metamorphosis being burned, the Chaos Protection as well. And look at the damage. They all came back in. And Shurko just says no! Taking them all down. The fallout from Darkbreaker is there. Yavix is going nowhere fast as Darkbreaker charges on through. Ibuchichi, say goodnight!
What did I miss, guys?
Well, they're all gone now anyway.
Yeah.
That was the ace. That's going to be the game.
That was a very, very sloppy engage. Team Queso should not have taken that fight.
They should have just set back. They should have invaded the jungle of Bubble Team, taken a few buffs, reset, waited for Ibuchichi to respawn. And because of those small errors and mistakes, Bubble Team is able to take it. They take the series 2-0.
find ourselves in a wave pool earlier. Well, now we're chilling on Splash Mountain, and as we fall, we fall, we fall. It was Bubble Team that had they rode the wave of Shurko. That's where I was going with that one.
It was almost really good.
It was almost really good. I had it, and then it fell miserably down, just like falling down Splash Mountain. Ding.
That game was almost as deadly as real wave pools. Those things are dangerous.
They're really fun. I really like wave pools.
They're really dangerous.
But let's talk about Shurko.
Yes,
Shurko,
he managed.
We talk about this in the prep. We talk about this beforehand, where you take these characters, you take these individuals, and you talk about them too much, and you say, you know, this isn't. We don't want to talk about them too much. We want to highlight other people. Shurko proves that when you take the spotlight off of him, you need to put it right back because he's going to come up with good plays. Only 4-0-6. That does not tell the whole story. 30% of his team damage. That now averages out to 35% team damage over the course of those 2 games.
I'd actually like to highlight Memorized as well, though. We talked about it a bit in-game. His Chaos protections were on point, and he was constantly. He took 31% of his team damage game 2.
It was right up front.
He was like 20-30% game 1 as well. He was one of the best supports in Valor series, and that is a very fun storyline to follow because he really struggled on almost this exact same roster at the World Cup. I like seeing his improvement. It's been really fun to watch.
Bubble Team's story for me is a story of hunger. It's a story of a team who didn't find the success they wanted to. They got beat down. They got punished. They tried to make changes, but now they've come back together. They've rallied, and they're saying, look, we want it. And you can see it in their play. You can see it in the way they take fights. You can see it in the way they take these aggressive engages. And the way they do counterplay, they want these wins.
And what I like to dub as the term calculated aggression is something that Bubble Team has excelled at. We take a look at our AT&T replays of the game and shows specifically just that. We find ourselves at just over the 12.5-minute mark, and it seemed as some members get caught out. But again, the patience.
Rez plays this so well, and this is something you see constantly. He's able to cull through the shock because he knows it's coming. He sees that Malik up top. Now Team Queso have spent almost everything they have, and the entire team can come through and cleanly wipe. Lilu doing a lot of damage in the backline and leaving the field clear for Shurko and Darkbreaker to clean up.
Lilu's job is to try. And it was interesting. There's a moment where it's just turn, and all of a sudden it's like they were being chased, and then they were the one who chased them.
And Rez was responsible for baiting out both the Metamorphosis and the Shock there. His play is so good.
And you take a look at the calculated aggression. Look at the patience of Shurko in the backline, that he's able to have time and time again. Knows exactly the amount of damage output that he can have. They're able to clean up these fights, but both of those fights are the purest examples of not only the ability of Bubble Team to have patience to say, wait a little bit longer, wait a little bit longer. All right, now we're going to go in. But it also highlights the faults that we keep pointing out on Team Queso, that they overcommit, they over-aggress, and they don't have the ability to follow up with it, expend all their resources, and end up falling.
They were doing so well early. The patience was there. They got 1 kill, they backed off. They got 1 kill, they backed off. And then that Dragon leashed. And then their mentality, you could see their entire mentality. Oh, you could see them tilt. And it cost them so much in that game. I think it's just a little bit, they need a little bit more practice, a little bit more experience, just being able to laugh that off, go, wow. Okay, and then reset. If they can get that, they're going to be a sick team. This is the best Team Queso we've ever seen.
I do want to say, though, Bubble Team, you need to clean that up. Because that game we saw almost no early game aggression. That game we saw you guys struggling against plays that you shouldn't have. Rez looked like he understood the positioning. Rez was really on top of several of the team fights. Memorized was on point. You had individual star play. The team play, the macro play needs to step up, especially in the early game.
They need to step up, but unfortunately, the cheddar was not sharp enough for Team Queso. They could not pop the bubbles of Bubble Team as they walk away with a 2-0 victory. Don't go anywhere. We have just started, guys. 2 matches in, 2 games in, but we have our second match coming up, Alliance versus Existence, right after the break. the first match of the day of the European region, we saw Bubble Team rise to new heights in the face of adversity. Now we find ourselves in match number 2 with two teams that have had both struggles as well as successes in the Valor series. Welcome back to the desk. My name is Jump. I'm joined here yet again by TJ and Enviram.
I'm just happy to be here.
Well, you're happy to be here, and we're happy to get into this next match. Let's talk about it. Alliance, Existence, these are two teams that have had themselves some budding moments. Existence finding themselves in a great situation, though struggling a little bit yesterday. What can we expect from today?
This is kind of a matchup between, like you say, two similar teams. Both of them are really, really good at times, and also have been struggling a bit of late. Alliance, it feels like, lost a lot of their heart when they lost Rez. They were definitely not putting things together in a very frustrating way even before that. And Existence, they should be on top. Game 2 Existence yesterday was one of the strongest teams we've seen, and that's been their consistent story. When they make everything work, they look coordinated and sick. And when they don't, they don't.
Alliance lost a lot of their heart and soul when they lost Rez. I think you said it perfectly. He was one of the driving forces behind that squad. Losing him, I feel like, was a blow that we're going to see if they can recover from. They only have a few weeks to do so. Existence is a squad who does great when they're playing their game. But the second you throw one thing out of whack, they have zero recovery skills. They are not very good at coming back from when they make mistakes.
Luckily, you take a look at the Alliance roster, and you still see budding stars, players that have mechanical potential. They've had some roster swaps, time and few, but it looks like the starters today are going to be Cap, Mowgli, Pitch, Sky Crew, and Oxy. And
I'm very happy to see Oxy back on this roster because he was a key part of their success. I'd also like to give a shout out to Mowgli, who has a really, really good scoreline. He actually has a 2.5 KDA as a support main.
It's really good.
Which is pretty great. He plays a lot of Jognar, and he looks very good on the roll.
We also need to see Sky Crew. We talk about Sky Crew every single time. His Raz is disgusting. Give him on mobile mages. He's rocking. They need to prioritize him as somebody to protect, and on the other side, somebody to take down.
You look about building a composition, and in a lot of instances, this is just a standard composition we want to build. I want to see them potentially build that composition around Sky Crew and give him more avenues to succeed. Now taking a look at their opponent in Existence, this is a team that we have given lots of credit to, a team that has found themselves a sense of momentum. Looking at what we have from the starters today, Juki, Blue Triton, Chikitin, Roids, and Bamboo. There's a lot to talk about. Which one are you wanting to highlight today, TJ?
We were talking about this. I was actually chatting with you and Vera, but I said, should we talk about Blue Triton? You were like, nah, we should talk about somebody else because he feels like he's all we talk about. But he is that good. When he's able to show up, he does carry his team. But he has been a bit inconsistent, and I feel this is a theme across the EU region. European teams suck at protecting their jungle. I'm sorry.
It's something we see personified a little bit like a team like Geo Esports is the best at it. I would say of any team in the Valor series, they are the best at protecting their carries. There's a reason that No Mercy has died like 10 times in the entirety of the Valor series. This is something that I think EU has been improving on, but there's two types of Existence. Games where Blue Triton is doing well and games when he's not. And their win rates are, it's almost a 1-to-1 ratio.
They're completely different teams to both results-wise and to watch play.
All right, well, gentlemen, we have talked about these rosters. We've seen their play over the course of the last 6 weeks. Now let's get to predictions. This is going to be a big match because, again, we've talked about this. These are teams that are finding themselves in contention for Sao Paulo. Who's going to come out on top today?
Existence 2-0.
I think it's going to be that. It's going to be close, though. It could very easily go 1-1, but I agree.
Alliance is just such a huge X factor right now, especially after those roster moves.
We haven't seen them. We haven't seen them play with Oxy, so we don't.
We really don't know.
We really don't know.
And also, I know Alliance are a good team. I know they have a support structure. They have 2 coaches. They can absolutely make massive improvements week to week. But we just haven't seen that as of yet, so I have to go against them.
All right, well, you guys hear what they have on the disc. Unified yet again, but we always want to know what you guys are thinking about it as home. Make sure you head on over to Twitter, use the hashtag Valor Series, tweet us your predictions and who you feel is going to come out on top in our second match of the day.
Tweet me high fives.
No, what?
Do it. Why not?
No. Why would you want a digital high five when you can get a high five from us anytime you want?
It's more high fives.
Anyway, we're going to get into the pick ban phase now. Alliance finds themselves on the blue, Existence on the red. Now,
That's
Annette,
why.
we
That's
didn't.
why I need more high fives.
We didn't see Annette in the first series of the day.
That's true.
I know this is a hero that I think all four of us, TJ and Suijay included, I think are wanting to see more of Annette potentially pop up. Is that potentially going to be an option here in this, or is this just Europe deciding, hey, we're not ready to play this hero yet?
I love it. It's so interesting that we saw it in various forms in LATAM, we saw it in various forms in NA, but EU just collectively as a region just be like, nah.
It's like everybody had a meeting, all the captains of,
Exactly.
the 6 teams, and they're like, all right, guys, look, I know Annette's active this week. Let's not pull it out to week 7. Or you know what? Like, let's just wait and not play it at all.
EU, it feels like, wow, I'm going to project. I feel like EU has a little bit of a self-isolating, kind of almost elitist, that's a mean word, attitude. They only really build off of their own meta, and that's both great because we see things like this Death Ball composition that develop inside Europe and kind of stay there because they have their own playstyle, but also when new characters come out, they're incredibly popular in other regions like the Asian regions. They don't pick up what the Asian regions are doing with that character. They instead wait for it to develop into something they're already doing.
See, I would argue that it, in fact, isn't great because they don't win in global competition. So, just goes to show that cutting yourself off from the rest of the world and not wanting to take, input from outside, maybe it's bad.
Yeah, and I don't want to phrase it that way because I do know
I'm
that
just also
these
I'm
players,
also just kind of joshing you a bit here, bud.
I do know that these players watch VODs from other regions. I do know that they check out other metas, but we definitely see less of a global draw in terms of influence in their playstyles, and that's probably why there just isn't a net, why there just isn't as much Japanese focus.
And you kind of have to look at that on even the broader scale of when you look at them in international play. That's kind of been a big falter of Europe in a lot of ways. When they came over for E3 in the regional finals of Season 1, the teams found difficulties in screaming the North American teams and having issues on that end. But now we have to kick ourselves to the game. Alliance actually bans away the Raz, which is an extreme focus pick there on for Existence. Malik is the first pick for Alliance. An immediate rebuttal now with the Jin Arsenio, and so Existence, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
See, okay, hey, Annette, awesome, perfect, right on time. But I actually think that is so weird because Sky Crew's Raz is insane, as good. What?
But see, the ban
is good too, though.
But the ban goes away in the sense of you're not going to first pick a Raz. There are too many other good picks too that warrant picking over the Raz. That does not necessarily hold true for the 1-2 pick on the red side. They could potentially have gone something of just the Zenial and the Raz or something of that effect. So now all of this talk about Annette not being on the board, and it looks like Alliance lock it in.
Yeah, and Alliance, remember, are the team with the double coaches. They are the team that study up aggressively. So maybe that's what's happening. Maybe they took the time and said, what's wrong? We need to fix our meta. Now they have a very strong engaged meta. They're going to lead in with Omen in the side lane. That's going to be very fun to see. And I assume this is going to be a support, a Mowgli, Annette. And given that I already highlighted how great Mowgli is,
I can't wait to see
that's going to be very fun. They have 2 of the strongest side lanes in the game, and my favorite support opposing them, though. Existence are building a pretty stacked European comp.
I really like the point that you just made on Mowgli, though, because something that we have applauded Mowgli about specifically as a support across all 3 regions is nothing more than his positioning. Annette finds troubles when you misposition her. She does not have the tanky stats. She does not have the HP to be able to withhold a lot of those defenses. So a very solid effort. I like the point that you brought up, TJ. Now that you have Lindis and Marja coming into the mix, an opportunity comes up for Alliance, potentially a Tulin in the mid lane.
Yeah.
I mean, Sky Crew on mobile mages. Short range, bursty, mobile mages. Liana or Tulin, either one is fantastic. We're going to be seeing that here. My big question, the big X factor is Oxy's jungle. He's pulled out some crazy stuff. And he can put any marksman jungle here where I think will function pretty well. I like the interactions.
I really like this.
Yeah,
this is a solid comp from Alliance. They have enough engage tools that they can leverage the Fennec. The big thing with the Fennec, the big thing with Oxy is you need setup for him to punish.
Shock, Death's Embrace?
Yeah.
Hurricane Wall? Let's throw a Chainhammer Cyclone on that.
Alliance are going to look to find it engage and punish it with the Chainhammer Cyclone. The answer to all of that engage is here. It needs to be Chicketin. It needs to be how they're playing around this Jugnar.
So again, we find ourselves in a situation where you have both of these European teams executing the strategy that they want in the draft. We saw this from the Team Queso Existence match yesterday, both teams creating the compositions that they want, But now we find ourselves asking the question that we asked yesterday, and we have to continue to ask until they prove otherwise, which Existence is going to show up in this game?
I think this is a weaker draft from Existence, but as stated, I think they're the stronger team.
This is a less cohesive draft.
Yeah.
I mean, individually, all these characters are strong. It's just, I don't see, they don't fit together as well as Alliance.
Again, though, it's going to rely a huge component, even though it is the lesser of the two drafts, positioning. If Mowgli catches himself out, if these multiple members, Oxy specifically, they find themselves out, it doesn't matter that it is slightly weaker of a composition. They do have the multiple unit lockdown. They do have the ability to win these skirmish battles. So this is going to be all on Alliance on making sure, specifically in the early game, they don't get caught out.
And as stated pre-draft, a lot of the emphasis has to be on Oxy. He consistently does get caught out. He consistently does get punished in the jungle. If Existence are able to do that, if they're able to show that aggressive, surgically precise team we saw during Game 2 versus Team Queso yesterday, I think we can see that again. I think they can murder Oxy and take the game very quickly. So it is about how Alliance are able to protect that jungle and protect their towers during the first few moments of the game.
Now, I want to talk a little bit about this support matchup as well, because Annette, we've been talking about Annette specifically, but I want to talk about the support players. When you think about Existence, when you think about Alliance, you've got Annette versus Shognar. Because Annette is so new, this is not a matchup that we're used to. Early thoughts?
I really like Annette because her ability to kite and do damage during that kite is stronger than almost any other character. The Chaos Protection will negate a lot of that. He does have the potential with it to avoid all of the slows, and that, I think, won't play so well.
I just want to see her with some magic damage items. That's all I care about. I want her to sweep the broom and into the enemy's faces. Alliance finds themselves up against an Existence team. This is a battle for Sao Paulo as the regional finals lurks ever so closer. Gentlemen, let's take it away.
Well, you know, given their current position in the standings, you know Alliance is hoping for a sweep here. They want to take this series 2-0. But Existence already coming off strong. I love that simultaneous wave bash in the middle of the lane as Liliana walks forward and just gets blasted by Roids and Chiquita to start things off. That was like what a way to start things off.
If Alliance don't sweep this set, they're in a lot of trouble, correct?
Correct. I mean, luckily for them, a lot of the teams who are all in these same positions have been winning and losing in relatively even manner. They've been going up against these really strong top teams. So there's only about a game separating the bottom 4 teams in the league right now. So this is still, though, every single game counts, every match counts. The fact that yesterday we saw Existence able to go even against Team Queso, that was actually massive for Queso.
When Queso pick up that game, that undoes a lot of the difference between them and, say, Alliance, who, as a reminder, have had a really rough season.
They've had the odd moment where they're like, yes, this team is going to look great. And then they've had moments where they have not looked super strong. However, Oxy's looking really good to start things off right now. That Chainhammer Cyclone positioning was perfect.
I just made a connection. Wind Gust on top of Chainhammer Cyclone, that's exactly the same circumference slow. Oh. That's going to be brutal.
Oh, that is going to be, I want to see Frosties. I want to see Frosties on the net, okay?
And you can wind cuff people back
into it.
Oh my goodness. I really like Annette. I don't know if I mentioned that. I've never seen it played with a Fennec.
Oh, that's actually, and these are two of my favorite heroes right now, so I'm really excited. I know we predicted Existence 2-0 in this match, but I have to say, just based on draft alone,
there's a better comp for Alliance.
I definitely agree. Good positioning from Existence right now, pointing the back. The stun does go through. The Chainhammer Cyclone is there. Oxy is not able to snipe with the Roids with beautiful positioning as they re-engage Bamboo. Beautifully done on that Exuberance, but not able to secure the kills.
That was really silly that Alliance lost that. Typically, the team with the Fennec is almost guaranteed objective picks because of the burst on Thief's Mark. However, he didn't have Punish available for that fight. So the Thief's Mark burst was almost all he had to contest it with, and that just allowed good play from Roids to take it away from him.
A really nice play there. All of Existence on the same page. Oxy, didn't get to play last week, so maybe feeling a little bit sloppier this time around, not having Punish up. That is a kind of a key ability that you need to have at your disposal there as that jungle marksman, but he instantly goes back to farming. No problem there from him.
Of course, the reason why it's easier for Fenix to take major objectives typically is due to that burst. Basically, with a Punish, you're looking to do the largest amount of damage at the last moment possible, so that it's impossible for the other team to find a big damage ability to burst down the objective and steal it. So Thief's Mark, because it is such a high burst damage ability, you can wait until the dragon is low HP, but higher HP than the enemy team can burst down.
We are seeing Engage in the mid is going in there. Nice Death's Embrace onto Bamboo. He is going to get picked. The Angelic Splendor is there. Pitch with a great re-engage on the shock. Nicely done, but not enough damage. Oh, to take him down from existence. That was a good recovery there from them, but an awesome engage onto Bamboo.
Alliance, that was clean. Push through, Skycrew lands the Riki shot. They instantly have the punish. They're charging forward with the Death's Embrace from Cap, and when they land that, there's no way to get away. Because your Death's Embrace, the Riki shot is crawling towards you. You're almost guaranteed to be hit by it, and he was with a Chainhammer Cyclone as well.
Chainhammer Cyclone is there with the Ghost Walk. Marja, oh so good at dodging this out. The Hurricane Wall really misplayed there from Mowgli. Yeah, that was, and that's a big cooldown too.
He saw the Hurricane pass by the coast and wasn't that interested.
Keep in mind, Mowgli traditionally plays melee supports, and I wonder if having this long-range, slightly different positioning on this Annette is going to be a problem for him, because we always compliment the fact that he's able to stay alive and have this great KDA with these melee heroes, and Annette's so different.
You do need to position Annette like a ranged DPS, which is kind of difficult, I think. But there it might have just been for the dash. A lot of people, Hurricane Wall's on a relatively short cooldown for an ultimate, so I in particular will just use it as a mobility ability.
Flicker was down, so, you know, but burning those kind of resources allowed Existence to take a second dragon, allow them to get further map control right now. And Juki's, he's been having actually a bit of a tough time up in this top lane up against the Omen. No real surprise there. Omen still one of the winningest heroes in the European region. Cap, the new player, replacing Rez. Those are big shoes to fill.
I hate the word winningest. I'd just like you to know that.
It is a real word.
But you're right. He does have a 52% win rate in the European region.
It's down from 70. That's dropped quite a bit. He was at last week. He was at a 70% win rate.
But that's because people now understand how to play against him. It really does feel like that's what's shifted.
Thanks, NA. NA teaching us all the lessons of how to beat the Omen. That's one of the best things about having the Valor series set up the way we have it with EU, NA, LATAM, all back to back to back, because you're able to watch other regions, glean insight from them, or just watch how to murder people with an exuberance. The flicker is there onto Oxy, who's just gone. The re-engage with the shock pitch is there.
Oh, woo. Pitch almost finds two with the cleave. Now Mowgli just needs to run away. Skycrew alongside him. They've been playing as a fun little duo, and I also really like that, because that duo, Annette, joined with Liliana works kind of in reverse to how it should, where Liliana can set up for Annette's punish.
Which is phenomenal, because they're both mages at the end of the day. Annette is the pseudo-mage support hybrid. Liliana, of course, is all about that damage. But meanwhile, gotta give props to Alliance. We did see Cap split pushing as his Omen should. He does take down the Slayer lane tower. That's the first tower going down for him.
Pressure coming through in mid from Existence, who've just played a great macro game so far. That was something we highlighted needed to be disrupted by Alliance. They needed to make sure that Existence weren't in control of the map, that they weren't able to pressure Oxy. So far, a lot of jungle taken by Existence. Oxy struggling to keep pace as this third dragon is poised to go to Existence.
A Blue Triton will grab that with ease. Nicely done there. A good little invade. Oh, the Death's Beckon, the Death's Embrace, trying to Angelic Splendor his way out of there, but that's not going to happen. We do see the heal being committed from Chikitin, who keeps him alive. The shield is there at the last minute. Another team is overcommitted. Mowgli is in the jungle, and Bamboo's there with the exuberance on the flank. Nicely done. Mowgli getting chunked. Oxy on retreat. Bamboo, what do you do? Taking him down, trading his life for it, but for good measure.
Existence with perfect team play in that fight. And Alliance are in a lot of trouble now. They finally try and get aggressive, but you've already lost 3 dragons. You can't take fair fights when you're that far behind in gold.
I found the problem. They tried to kill a Zenial. Oh yeah, that.
And we've seen that a couple times today. Zenials are going to stack high. You cannot, if you find somebody in the jungle all alone, I understand the urge. Let's go get that kill. If they're all alone and they have more HP than your entire team combined, it's not going to happen. You need to pick your targets much more carefully when you're going for an engage like that. Otherwise, you're asking for a bait.
The bait was very real. And, well, I have to say, Chikitin just did such a fantastic job of keeping him alive. I mean, I understand. Alliance set it up. They're the Death's Beckon. He was literally mid-Malleus animation. You'll want that. But it all came down to Chikitin with the perfect setup, and all about the team play, which Existence is showing right now. The Angelic Splendor's coming in. Look at how much damage. Pitch is there. Good Chainhammer Cyclone to split the fight. So you do have the shock. Pitch surviving through all of it. The heal is being burned. Essence of the Wind as well. So a bit of a back and forth, but no deaths.
Chikitin, we highlighted at the beginning, was going up against Mowgli, playing Mowgli's traditional character. Mowgli, of course, well known as a Chognar main.
Oh, yeah.
he's been shut down so far. Mowgli finding very little success on the Annette, and Chickadin, by contrast, has been doing very, very well. Currently 1-0-3, as well as making several key plays with the Essence of the Wind and that heal.
I think one of the biggest differences has to be, again, it's the fact that Mowgli traditionally playing these melee supports. It's now a range. It's very different than his traditional style, and it's also the team needing to play around it. But we'll see if he can make some big plays with the Hurricane Wall in this fight. This is going to look to go in right now. There's the burst on the Abyssal Dragon. Chikitin snipes it! Are you kidding me? Bamboo is there, but he's oh so weak. Nicely done shutting that down. The Angelic Splitter following up Mowgli on the flank, trying to split the fight. Blue Triton is there as well, but nicely done there for Mowgli, able to stay alive. Chikitin is going to be the target. His pitch is stopping. Juki is there. The Ghost Walk coming in from Roids. Chase them down in real deep. Nicely done. Cap trades in the back, but Blue Triton is here to clean it all up.
We talked about positioning. Maybe Mowgli wasn't comfortable with how he was setting up. He spent much of that fight doing very little. He spent much of that fight, he blew a Hurricane Wall into Chaos Protection, got almost nothing with it. He spent a lot of it just hiding inside the Dragon Den, not taking the fight to his squishy HP, just kind of poking as best he could. You should be on the front lines constantly spamming those wind cuffs to disrupt enemy positioning. The fact that he wasn't sets his team up for failure.
Keep in mind, the support's job is still to tank damage at the end of the day. A lot of that has to do with their ability to, you know, you're a key target. Pitch, what are you doing? No. Oh no! Oh no!
That was unfortunate. Blue Triton reading the play well and just able to sit there and hammer a damage whilst Pitch had a, I'll just say a rough time.
Auto attack. I'm just gonna auto attack you. That's okay. Is that okay?
No, it's not really okay.
No. Oh, I mean, I guess Blue Triton.
I want to know you better before you get to auto attack me.
That's fair. That's fair. Blue Triton though, feeling like he knows Pitch pretty well at this point because he just went to town.
It was gross, and that's another situation where I just feel like occasionally the Alliance members aren't quite able to stabilize in these fights. They aren't quite able to make the intelligent decision.
5 dragons, TJ! 5 dragons going to existence.
If you want to learn how to count, you can just watch Existence get dragons.
Ha, 1 dragon, ha ha ha. 5 dragons!
That is not how math works, but it is how Existence works.
Yes, they went
because they've just locked down every major objective, and Oxy should be preventing this, but again...
He's dead!
He's caught out!
He's just... I mean, that's not even... To be fair, that's not even caught out. They just dove handily under the tier 1. The tier 1's gone. Bamboo flickers. The Exuberance is he's speedy as...
Let me rephrase. He wasn't actually positioned poorly. I'm going to put the blame for that on Mowgli, who is standing there watching it happen.
I want to help you, but I don't know how to play this hero yet.
Oh, I mean,
it's cruel, but it's true.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. Mowgli needs to step this up.
Well,
that was a good Hurricane Wall.
That was a good Hurricane Wall, forcing them back. The shock is there. The Chaos Protection, though, dispelling a lot of this. Having that, oh man, having that Exuberance all the while, Blue Triton was able to stay alive.
Hovering at the back of the fight, and where is the counter to that? It needs to be Oxy. Oxy has not been relevant to any of these fights. Currently 3, 4, and 1. That is not an acceptable scoreline, and he's so far behind in gold compared to his counterpart on the other side. This is a really poor performance from Oxy.
I also think this is a really good performance from Existence,
yes.
I have to say. They are doing a very good job of shutting him down. Blue Triton has been a fiend. That Dark Blessing, that fight was massive, and it's jazz hands, the draft. Bamboo goes in, watch me, don't watch Blue Triton, who's actually tearing your face off during this entire fight. Watch how hard he hits. Jauki's going in, giving him the shield to start things off, but just backing up, not wanting to overcommit very smartly here, because we've seen Existence throw a little bit.
Yeah, I don't want to agree with you, but Existence occasionally do. They get a bit sloppy towards the late game. That's how mistakes can happen. So far, they're not making that error. Indeed, they're currently trying to pay attention to this Dark Slayer. Jauki and Blue Triton will take it, while the rest of the team zones.
I got to give props to Roids as well. He's someone we haven't... I think we chronically undervalue his performance in the team. His Marja is impeccable. He is always doing consistent damage. Well, he's not making always the biggest, the flashiest of plays. He's always there. He's tanking well. He's doing consistently between 25 and 30% of his team's damage. And I feel like we really need to talk about him more. As easy it is to talk about Bamboo, as easy it is to talk about Blue Triton, Roids also has been a beast.
And it's been a lot of his pressure on the Marja that's helping shut down the backline of Oxy here. Him and Blue Triton have done a great job doing that. There's been very few opportunities for Alliance to get set up.
Especially when they go into a fight in a 5v4, TJ. Blue Triton using that tread softly, getting in there. The trap, the follow-up, Roids with the slow as well. Mowgli with the Hurricane Wall to try and dispel them. Nice wind cuff pulling them back in, but no follow-up?
Yeah, using the Hurricane Wall like that just as a zoning tool really isn't the most ideal use of it. The tower in the top lane barely survives. Jauki will just chip that now.
Take it right on down. So that is going to be 2 high ground towers falling. The initiation from Pitches here, but he's in real deep. Instantly deleted the follow-up. Nice Ghost Walk, reinitiating from Bamboo with that exuberance, diving in onto the core and taking down 3 members of Alliance.
Sky Crew right into 3. That's working so well.
Sky Crew actually finding the key trades in the back. Bamboo now in full retreat. That was what he needed. That kept his team in the game.
Sky Crew, where was that all game? Well, why is that triple kill just happening now?
Who is our player to watch on Alliance going into this match? Who was it, TJ?
Sky Crew?
Was it Sky Crew? Is it the first time we've mentioned Sky Crew in this game?
Yeah.
That's a problem. That is a problem for Alliance. And finally he stepped up. He kept his team in the game, but is the damage already done?
Yeah. I with no high grounds remaining in the top or mid lane, I think they're in a lot of trouble. The situation is maybe if you get 3 Dark Slayers, you work this back. That's the Alliance win condition right now. If you get 3 Dark Slayers...
Can I get an order for 3 Dark Slayers, please?
Sorry, Dark Slayer machine's broke.
Always. It's always broken every time I want a Dark Slayer.
And every time Existence are playing. And as we've touched on, Oxy should be really good for securing these major objectives. He's playing Fennec, who is unambiguously the best marksman for securing major objectives because of the burst we've talked about earlier. But they've got none of them. Literally none of them.
They have not found a major objective yet in this game. 1 big hit on Oxy. Beautiful job though with the Hurricane Wall. Mowgli able to get his carry out. He will sacrifice his life for it, but Oxy lives. They can convert any kills off the back of this. This is massive. Pitches there, not able to get the shock. Beautiful Malleus from Chuki to deny that mobility tool. The stun does not come through. Cat missing his Death's Embrace as well was massive through all of that, or his Death's Beckon, I should say. He still has that key ultimate that maybe he can use, but Oxy needs to survive, and Bamboo says no! As Cap is going to drop as well, potentially forced to use the flicker. Bamboo trades his life, but they get the key pick on the Fennec.
Stalling things out, but again, Oxy goes down during the fight. It is all on Sky Crew now.
Sky Crew needs to make a miracle happen, but I don't think it's going to. That is going to be it. Game 1 is going to Existence.
Existence battled it out, and they did indeed secure themselves a Game 1 victory over Alliance, and proving that sometimes it's just a little bit of teamwork that you need to get yourself a victory. Or, in this specific game Existence, a lot of dragons!
5 dragons!
I don't want to harp on it too much, because I feel a little bad for the guy. It was his first game in a while. But Oxy, you're playing Fennec. They had multiple times where they had control nominally of the Dragon Pen, and not one time did they get it.
Biggest difference is every single time that Oxy tried to step up and make anything happen, he was face-to-face with a lot of exuberant play from Existence. Let's put it that way.
Do you want to know something fun?
Yes.
Oxy actually did pretty well this game. His average KDA is 3.6.
Good for him. I mean,
so...
keep in mind, these KDAs aren't actually based on the way we do ours, but he still had an 88% involvement rate, so that's pretty good.
Yeah, I think the problem was much of that involvement ended during the first phase of the fight. As soon as Existence were able to go, oh, okay, there's Oxy. That's who we need to focus. He was shut down in these fights, and that is not sustainable. You need to be able to keep your backline alive, and the only backline that was staying alive for Alliance was Sky Crew towards the end of the game, and that was purely off of his own mobility. That wasn't because the damage was protecting him. That wasn't because Mowgli was really stepping up and finding those good Hurricane Walls. And the lack of zoning, the lack of control really hurt them.
Well, we can actually take a look at our AT&T replays of the game and show some instances where Existence essentially just took over.
This is a great example. You see so many resources committed to killing this Zenio, but somehow kept alive. Chiquitin making miracles happen. This guy is a beast, and they allowed Blue Triton to go on in. Bamboo was there, the exuberance onto Oxy. Hey, look, this looks familiar!
We've seen a lot of the good Jinnar play like this. So much of good Jinnar play is about finding other people's engage opportunities, because you can't create them. But here again, it's off of somebody else's opportunity.
And this is the parts where we have really applauded Existence in a lot of instances. They have, at all points in the Valor series, at all points this season specifically, they have been there for their team when they need. You take a look at a lot of these fights, you take a look at how the fights were able to get to the end result. It was with their rotations, it was with their ability to communicate, and it was with their knowledge of saying, all right, look, we can weather this storm, we can bunker down the hatchet, and then from there, now let's go.
Bunker down the...
He tried.
It's a southern term.
The
Don't worry
point
about it.
is...
Batten down the hatches, Jump. You were
The point
really
is,
close.
I agree. So much of what Existence do right during team fights is their positioning. You can constantly see the front line come through from players like Jauki. They're taking a whole bunch of the damage for the team, and that works really well. Because if all the damage is being pumped into the characters with the HP to survive it, then Oxy looks really silly when a flank comes through, and he's just wasted all of his time alive during the fight, putting damage into the characters who can take it.
I think that was the biggest difference, is it's the ability to, we use this terminology a bit, it's called juggling aggro, and I don't think we've ever really kind of dove into explaining it. The idea of juggling aggro is basically cycling out those frontline players so they can take the damage. When they get too low, they back up, the next person comes in, they take the damage, juggling the aggression of the opponents, making sure that no one person is ever taking the full brunt at one time.
If you've ever played an MMO and you decide you're fighting a boss, you decide we need to make sure that the boss is doing his damage onto this person on our team because they have the HP to take it.
The tank.
Same role here. When the other team is fighting, you want to put their aggression, their aggro, onto your highest HP players. Make them waste ultimates onto your tank, who cannot do much aside from take hits, whilst your backline, in this case, oftentimes Blue Triton, is flanking around and doing massive damage.
Well, now taking a look at what we see coming out of our next pick ban phase, a little bit of a different situation. We've got Pura, Zenial, Malik. Now it looks to be the Valheim, Ebeneth, and Crest. Oh, that might actually change now to the Violet. The Alliance doesn't want to deal with the Violet, so that's going to give an opportunity now, an immediate lock-in for Existence on the first pick, Valheim.
I like the Valheim as a constant pickup because it's just, we saw game one. People forget why Valheim is so gross, but you just can't teamfight versus him. Because you're so constantly stunned. And I'm not a big fan of AP Valheim, because to be blunt, I think Jorn's better at the role. But if you're building him the stun slow build, he just becomes so frustrating to play into in the late game.
Oh, especially once he gets that Frost Cape as well. It's just Blitzblade, bouncing everything around, the Hyoga's Edge, everything is just like, let's go. You're not going anywhere. This is the Valheim show now. And they are lucky that didn't start things off, though. Once again, Alliance, I would not pick a net. Mowgli,
you did not look good on the character. If
is it a denial?
Maybe that's all the logic going into it, but to be frank, every team fight, it felt like they were missing some blocking potential, and that is not something Annette is a character lack. She has the abilities to delay pressure into the backlines, but as a team, they didn't have the coordination to execute it.
When you're looking to net yourself a win, she's not, it's just not the way to go, I think, in this case. Oh, Jump, don't look at me like that. Don't look at me like that.
I'm absolutely appalled.
I'm appalled too.
The GR will come through for Existence here as they look to answer the front line with overwhelming force, and I really kind of like that. Sure, if you're going to run a Annette, you're lacking a whole bunch of solid frontline blocking. So if you have a Chaos Protection Jinnar, he could just power right through everything you've set up.
We saw that demonstrated in we've seen that demonstrated in past games. We saw that demonstrated in our first series. People talk. Calm yourself, TJ.
I am upset.
It might not be a L'Oreal. You do this all the time. You get mad about hovers, and then we're probably gonna lock them in this case. Oh no. Okay, yes, Skyku, please play your Raz.
Why would you pick Kriknak into a Jinnar Choknar comp?
You don't.
Why would you pick Kriknak into a Jinnar Choknar Valheim comp?
You know, TJ, we're in week 6 of 8. All right.
Right.
That is 6 weeks. This is broadcast number 12. we have had over 120 games throughout the course, over 120 games spread across 3 different regions. At what point will you realize that what you think and what gets played in many instances are not actually, in any sorts or sense of the word, correlated or...
Oh yeah, you're right. I should explain this as my opinion. Here is my opinion, which is backed up by tremendous research and possibly watching more Arena of Valor games than anyone else alive. Anyway, Alliance should not be running a Kriknak into an AoE damage composition. Because if you do run a Kriknak into a whole bunch of AoE damage like comes through from the Exuberance, you will be instantly blown up. You dive in, you use your drone drop, and then you're shot down. The other thing is, because you pick a Kriknak, a specialist character, so early on in the draft, Existence now have their final picks to counter Strat, and that may be why they went for another good AoE damage, tanky character in the Arduin who can completely shut down a Kriknak again should a dive come through.
I think it's a great pickup here. Arduin, multiple stuns, great tankiness, good control, decent mobility, everything that you want. Oh, and dealing with double assassin play of Alliance, as we're potentially going to see. No side lane Yorn for us, Alliance? No?
They're really startling today, but it's fine. Okay, game 2. How do you turn it around for Alliance? I'm going to highlight 2 players. Skycrew and Oxy need to absolutely step this up. It is on Skycrew to get to that late game that we saw his potential. He's a very talented player. Give me that within the first 10 minutes as well. Also for Oxy, I need you to do more than get shut down. I need you to help contest these major objectives for your team because you didn't get any of them last game.
I do want to give some credit over to Existence. You think about Arduin, and I actually, in one of the further weeks, I actually want to spend some time and talk a little bit more about Arduin because Arduin is kind of one of the hidden gems I think that we have in the Valor series specifically. If you take a look at sample sizes, you take a look at the stats that I love to just arbitrarily write out in many instances. Of all the heroes that have been picked at least 15 times in the Valor series, he finds himself in the top 5 of the win rates. He's actually got, in 16 games of the Valor series, he finds himself at 63% win rate, which doesn't sound like this preposterous number, but anything above 50% clearly is a positive. And in this instance, he finds himself, when he is picked, having a large amount of success, and more impactful presence on the map than a lot of these other silent heroes.
I think he's very good because he not only has damage, but he also has enough mobility with his ultimate that he can distribute control across a fight. So one of the things Rez does, I think Rez is the best Arduin in the scene. What he does so well is he's able to find pressure up top, then cull around the side of the fight to get to where the other tank is causing trouble and stun them up. Arduin is a good tank versus other tanks because he has so much stun that you can't use a Metamorphosis against him. You can't use Chaos Protection against him because he can just stand there and take the fight, take the damage.
I think one of the best things about him too is the fact that he does decently well on lane. He holds his own enough in lane that it's not a problem, but then he offers so much in team fights. A lot of these side laners, well, obviously where they need to excel, is offering a lot in these team fights. So I think that's what Arduin really does.
All right, well, while we get ourselves loaded onto the battlefield, we want to remind you that while we are 6 weeks into play, there is plenty of action to catch up on as we edge even closer to Sao Paulo. ValorSeriesEsports.com can provide you all of the information that you need and so much more. But as you can see on the screen, it's time to get into our next game, game number 2, as Existence versus Alliance has proven itself to be quite the bout. Gentlemen, let's make it happen.
Let's get into it, as Alliance is looking to stop the sweep. If anyone's going to do it, Mowgli, we need you to step up in this game. This Annette needs to level up from game number 1.
And Skycrew and Oxy, the 2 star players for the team. Skycrew showed up towards the end of that first game. He's now on Raz, who I would say is his best character. I need to see him from moment 1 be good, and I also need to see Oxy consistently finding pressure throughout the jungle, farming up, getting ahead, because without that, Kriknak's useless.
My issue with Kriknak is that oftentimes he's a one-spell wonder. He goes in, he drone drops, and yeah, well, I'm gonna do my thing now, guys. I did my big burst of damage, and
then he gets squished like a cockroach in my shoe.
In you? Oh, I'm so sorry.
I can see you haven't lived anywhere with cockroaches.
I'm Canadian.
You wake up in the morning and you put your feet in the shoes.
At least it's not a
And
scorpion,
there's just
man.
like a squish.
No, let's not talk about that. As Oxy is demonstrating the reverse effect of that, squishing Juki there.
Good start.
Good start. That's exactly what they needed. That's exactly what we needed to see from Alliance.
And it's a good pickup as well. Jamki, the Arduin, we're talking so much due to his late game potential. Because he can excel so well, because he can build into this heavy tank even around the first and second major objectives, being able to find that quick pick is massive.
They really need to do that to shut him down to start things off. If Lindis is able to go up and take the farm, so small victories there, at least you're able to have your jungle in a position where they will be able to pick up that slack, as it were. And all 5 members are going to be alive, though Oxy is going to look to try and deny that going into this first Dragon phase. Chikitin is forced to burn everything to get himself out. One more auto is going to make it happen. Nice on Sky Group, but his backline is under threat as Oxy is there. Going to be taken down, so trading out Pitch is also on an island. Sky Crew running for dear life. Pitch is still there. Actually brought him back into Pitch. No, that was not the play, Sky Crew. One of you could have lived.
But none of them do. And Alliance are slaughtered. This dragon, I think, is kited out of range.
It will leash.
Bye.
It will leash.
It's alright. Blue Triton can still work it out. And he should be able to do enough damage that, especially if he gets 8, he'll pick it up quite quickly. And Alliance may have just lost a devastating early game fight.
Chasing kills is bad. That's about it. That was the whole story there.
And
Chasing
this
kills
is
is
a
bad.
consistent problem for Alliance. They seem to not really always find the appropriate pressure. Instead, over-committing. This could be an opening, but Royds is able to flicker to safety.
That ghost walk from Cap was solid. He realized, wait a second, I have the health to do this. You do not hit hard enough yet. And that's one of my biggest issues with the side lane Valheim, is that he comes online so much later than other sides. Running the side lane marksman, it's going to happen. But Valheim particularly does not really feel good until he gets those first 2 items.
Oxy will commit mid. Bamboo welcomes him, and I think comes out ahead apart from the panic exuberance.
We've seen a lot of panic exuberances today, and I'm a little bit surprised. I understand the idea of burning it so you take the damage reduction, and that's fine, but that's like at this point in the game, he doesn't have any CDR, so that's a decent cooldown to be burned.
Blue Triton will find the poke in mid. Up top, Jauki on Arduin still playing. Fun fact, I just looked it up, Arduin actually has a 62% win rate in the EU Valor series. That's very high for the side lane character.
That is a very strong. I think it's because, again, he's a very high skill cap hero, so only those who are feeling really comfortable with him are going to actually bring that out. And Mowgli, unfortunately, finding the ire of Blue Triton in the mid. Bamboo forced the exuberance, but Oxy just getting deleted. Exactly what we expected. Blue Triton is there on the flank, using that tread softly, ripping them apart. We are going to see a nice little pick there. Blue Triton is then going to be the next threat. Is Sky Crew doing what he does best, but Rides is there with the stun. Hello, welcome to my pocket glaive.
Why was Sky Crew all alone there?
I don't know.
He was doing a really good job. That was the Sky Crew I was asking for. The pre-10 minutes, Sky Crew shows up, Sky Crew. But it was more like Sky individual, because he spent all his abilities. He ended up next to the Dragon Pen, and he had no teammates with him.
I think part of the problem was that he felt like he needed to keep those auto attacks chained. He felt like he needed to keep the push going, but he didn't push in the direction he wanted to.
Well, I don't know, because he was trying to get away from Chikitin, who was desperately trying to back up his DPS, but it felt like there wasn't a similar response.
That was a good response, though, in the mid, though, from Alliance, as they were able to secure themselves that kill.
Alliance are going more aggressive, more poke play, and that's what we needed from them.
That's exactly what we needed. Good combo there from Chikitin, able to get Roids out. Now Blue Triton's here in the flank, but nicely done with the wind cuffs, pulling them right back in. Chikitin needs to be careful. There's the drone drop once again. Oxy has been doing a good job of setting up these kills for his team. The Cricknack is looking way better than the Fennec. He's feeling way more involved. His positioning can be more aggressive because that's how Cricknack functions. That is what we need to see from him here in game number 2.
This is a great turnaround for Oxy, especially after that disastrous game 1. I'm very happy to see him stepping up, and you can also see Mowgli is quite consistently rotating with him. I'm not really sure how I feel about the duo, and I'm still not entirely comfortable with Mowgli's and net, but they are working better.
It's definitely a step up, definitely an improvement. It's the ability, I think, for her to just combo those skills with the Crick.
And there we saw that Gust Force clear the bush. So because they threw out the Gust Force immediately next to the bush, Alliance had advance warning of the rotation coming in to flank them. And because of the Annette, no other support could do that. They were able to quickly get out of the area.
Using that as a ward definitely helped out in that situation, and that's one thing I want to see more Annette's doing, is using that Gust Force preemptively to just give that additional vision and give that additional utility, which is the name of the game with Annette.
Spirit Sentinel now the focus for both teams. Alliance want to rotate through and contested existence, though have good guard play. Again, they always seem to have the right players leading the front line. In this case, it's Chicketon waiting in the bush for pressure to come through.
Do you see that early game, Lindis? In the mid right there. Did you see SkyCrew's health just get completely deleted? That was a little bit scary. And that is Existence finding their early game power spike. This is going to be very difficult to deal with if you're the Alliance, especially with Bamboo going in. Nice Gus forced to split the team fight, but Chicketon is still surviving a little bit longer, but the heal is now being popped, and Blue Triton was not in position. SkyCrew has found the carry in the back. Good luck dealing with that. That's SkyCrew's Raz. You ain't going nowhere.
And Pitch finds another. The execute rings through mid lane. It's only Jowkey to find pressure on the map. Alliance, that was a good turnaround. And Mowgli, I'm sorry, that was a great Hurricane Wall. He was able to knock Jowkey mid-exuberance out of the team fight, dodging the Chaos protection during that time. Very well played.
And this is, I talked about the counter synergy between Annette and Jinnar. That, we're seeing the counter synergy between Annette and Jinnar, except in this case, it worked out really well for Alliance.
Being able to blow the Jinnar away from the team fight and indeed stall out for SkyCrew to come through. This is Alliance taking team fights as a team, and it's the benefits of how dedicated they've been to grouping Oxy with Mowgli throughout the early phase.
Keep in mind, this is also their first Dragon in 2 games, so you know Alliance has got to be feeling good. 7 uncontested Dragons in a row for Existence in 2 games. Not where you want to be.
They do have the first one, though. So maybe this can be the beginning of the return. You can see their gold is just about dead even. Alliance doing much better in the fights, though. Another thing I'd like to highlight about Mowgli's net play, not to harp on him too much. Oh, never mind. The other team's harping on him just as hard.
I was going to compliment him a little bit, too.
If you can play the Annette in the middle of the team, her passive activates much more quickly, because every time an ability is used in her vicinity, she gets an AoE heal that can help her allies in a team fight. So his positioning, very separated from the team, may be hurting them.
We do see a little engage, though, going in there. Chasing down Cap as well. Double fights breaking out in the mid as SkyCrew's going to be the target, but Lindis going up against that. Oh, no, the Marja. Marja needs to be careful. I think they already burned the Ghost Walk. The bait is real, though. Trying to pull Oxy back into this, but that's the commitment from Bamboo. There you go. The flicker to follow up. Beautifully done. The exuberance is there. Baits on baits on baits.
And Mowgli, that was the bad Hurricane Wall. You just gave him a little boost right into your teammate, which I'm sure was unintentional, but yes, I'm also sure he made that noise.
It's exactly the sound you make. It's like, please, bring him right on in. Speaking of bringing him on in, Pitch is committing very hard. Nice use of the Shadow though, to escape, but he has no tower to fall to as Roids is like, I'm going to hit a little hard right now. Let's take a look at the item build. Oh, that is the Blitzblade, and that's the Frostcape. So, 2 items. Let's go.
Again, building that CC Valheim over on Roids. I'm very happy to see that as opposed to the AP Valheim that was run for a while.
Oxy walked into the wrong bush, forced to use the drone drop defensively. That is never ideal. Mowgli, of course, there to help to bail him out. This is incredible, though. Yeah. Watch how fast his tower drops.
But Existence have such good tower pressure and map pressure off of the ground they gain.
SkyCrew's on the flank, though, in the bush. Bamboo needs to be careful. Chicketon can actually tank that shot for him unintentionally, but nicely done there. But I love this, not overextending. We've seen both teams overextend so far in this series, but Existence is saying, let's not do that again.
SkyCrew's got Boomstick. He's doing damage if he can connect. Unfortunately, he's just about the only player that's doing that. Alliance as a whole are beginning to struggle in the gold department again. And it really does feel like they're a bit sloppy on the overall team rotations, not just on their part, but in what they're expecting Existence to do. We keep seeing these side laners get caught out because they overstay their welcome. Existence are a good team. They're going to rotate fast if you linger.
Cannot linger against a team that has this much CC at their disposal. As we look towards this next Abyssal Dragon, it is, of course, the enraged Abyssal Dragon, and already Existence is in a great position. And Alliance doesn't look like they're really in a spot to contest this.
Because they had poor rotations, because even though they knew Existence were mid, they didn't bring their players down, and now they're just straggling in. This is not looking great.
Now Bamboo's on the flank, though. Oxy is chasing him down. Blue Triton is there. Both carries actually under the ire of Marja. Cap's going to drop, but look at the damage from SkyCrew, almost executing 4 members.
SkyCrew, good effort, but Chaos Protection goes out and his fun ends. That was a really weird rotation from Alliance, though. They actually had Oxy in the right area, but he had to spend drone drop to disengage. And once he'd done that, they didn't really have a strong engage. Pitch got tagged down really low, separated from the team. The strongest 2-man engage came through from Cap, and then SkyCrew just kind of lingered in after. It was weird as an overall team play.
I think it was the whole thing started off because you saw Bamboo on the flank, just like, am I going to burn my exuberance? Am I going to burn it? Can you get me? Can you get me? The problem is that Blue Triton actually walked in range of the drone drop. So Oxy got massive value with that, more so than he really should have. and the rest of the team was not able to follow up. I love this, though. Joki and Blue Triton doing a great job of just taking this down in tandem, not allowing the debuff to go through on the key damage dealer. So watch how fast Blue Triton's going to take this down, despite the debuff.
And Chikitin and Bamboo during this time doing exactly what you need to do. We saw a bit of a slip up with this last game, but you have a damage dealer and a higher HP escape character in that front line. Both Bamboo and the Chikitin have abilities that they can use to bail if necessary.
Nice little defense there from Oxy, able to survive the full resource committal from Bamboo. That's what they needed to do, but we are seeing Roids now starting to get very staffed. He has the Clavis Sancti, he has the Blitzblade and the Frost Cape. This is going to be very difficult to manage. Combine that with the Lindis, with the Clavis Sancti of her own. This is a lot of damage to overcome.
I'm not really sure that Alliance have a recoverable game at this point, given how far behind they are in build.
It's also interesting to note that we are seeing more of a tanky build coming in from the Alice, not a lot of the additional magic damage, which I think could have been really useful in addition to the Sky Crew. That poke to set things up could have been massive, as we are seeing the poke onto Chikitin to start things off. There's the Ryu, but nice heal, as Blue Triton is going to look to re-engage.
Many people build the Aegis on the Annette primarily because it gives you good cooldown reduction. So if you have to build one defensive item, I agree. And it looks like they're building into a Phoenix tier, probably Orb of the Magi next, so
okay.
I've got hope for Mowgli. The real problem is whether or not his Annette build will reach the late game.
Very difficult to do when one auto attack coming out of a bush from Blue Triton takes you down to half health, as already the towers are just getting melted. We see Oxy in a bush, though, on the flank. The drone drop in the back. Perfect coordination with Pitch. Instant deletion there, as Pitch is going to trade his life for it. However, trading up is Alliance. They need to not lose Oxy. He's also, once again, sitting in a bush. Oh no, here he is. They're going to try and re-engage if they can onto Bamboo. They are actually able to do so, but a beautiful defensive ability there from Chikitin to keep him alive as Mowgli is trying to escape, but Roids is on the flank with Cap as well. The team is splitting beautifully. Chikitin able to clean up the fight. Oxy is now on no man's land. There's the last follow-up shot there. Essence of the Wind, keeping them alive for so long, but able to rally his existence.
How many times have I used the word weird to describe team fights from Alliance? That was strange. That was strange. Because they were able to poke through successfully in front, they felt like they had to keep that front line. Instead of regrouping as a team and protecting Sky Crew, they continued to engage hard. And because of that, they lost staggered deaths. It's going to be a while before their full team is up here to defend. Again, we did see a step up from Mowgli. That was a good Hurricane Wall, a good duo to find the kills they did, but it was unprotected. And when they left the fight, they did so in a scattered manner.
Pitch, though, is able to get a stagger death of his own, going in there, committing the Ryu. That's actually a nice little 2v1 trade, but Blue Triton has rejoined the fray. Cap is going to be the next target, but Chowki getting pushed back. The Hurricane Wall is there for Mowgli, able to try and put him in position, but Sky Crew not connecting with the uppercut. Oxy's on the flank, though. There's Blue Triton, but no! Juki putting down the hammer. Mowgli not quite hitting the key win cuff there, as Sky Crew is now going to be the target. Look at this re-engage. Everyone is respawned, rejoined, and re-killed their opponents in these fights. What?
Existence find the rotate back. Now again, the only player to defend is Cap on the Marja, and this time he doesn't have the high ground towers. This could be game.
Blue Triton is just going to hit that core. Bamboo is there. Nothing Cap can do. That is going to be it. That is going to be GG. Existence take the series 2-0.
They cleaned up their act, but more importantly, they capitalized on the missteps of their opponent. It was none other than Alliance going down and Existence coming out on top. Welcome back to the desk. I'm Jump, of course. I've got TJ and Envirum, as always, for the European region. It was Existence finally showing a little bit more of a complete game, but at the same time, it's pretty easy when your opponent missteps the way that Alliance was.
Alliance definitely looked better game 2 than they did game 1, but I'm not sure that's enough, and really Existence was the real improvement.
That game was close in so many ways. At one point, they were dead even in kills. There were a difference of like less than 2,000 gold. There were moments there I'm like, Alliance can really turn this around, but It just really wasn't working for them. They just staggered their deaths too much. They tried to draw out these fights, but that's not really where the composition excels. Their composition excels in bursting somebody down with Skycrew, with Oxy, with Pitch, and the sustained damage. The overall sustainability of Existence just weathered the storm and was able to carry them through in those fights.
Chikatin and Jauki, again the two highlights for me over on Existence. They did a great job as tanks. Their positioning was stellar. The chaos protections from Chikatin was on point. They absolutely helped carry the team, and team positioning was the story of the game. Not just because it was executed so well, I'll do this in two parts, so well on Existence, but also because it was a little bit poor over on their opponents.
And this is what we have exactly for our AT&T replay of the game. Skycrew, you guys were talking about him, but sometimes you just catch yourself out a little bit farther than you can have, and as a result, you find yourself in a rough situation.
This was the one. Okay, so Bamboo goes through, but you can see instantly Chikatin's here taking the front lines. This is what I'm talking about. They do such a good job rotating Chikatin in. Now, the problem is that separates Blue Triton from the pack, but Roids is there to receive, and you can see Chikatin rotating ASAP to defend their player who's being caught out. That is great tank positioning in a way that is actually incredibly difficult to do.
And this is the difficulty, though, that we found with Alliance. They were going in one at a time. They didn't have this full, bigger picture. I know, Inferium, that was a point that you kind of been harping upon with them over the last couple weeks. If they want to make a decision, if they're going to make a decision, it's as 5, not as 1.
They were so close. Oh, there were so many little things there from Alliance, and I got to give them props. They look so much better than last week. I think having Oxy back made a difference. The Cricknack felt a lot better for him because he plays aggressive. He goes in there, and he's risk-reward.
Their major objective control was my biggest note.
Yeah.
And that ties into the coordination thing. When it came to major objectives, we saw it very, very starkly on the Fennec, who, as I said, should be so good for those major objectives.
He lost a dragon to a Chognar.
Yeah. And
you don't
that's just
do
team
that.
play. That's just knowing where your team is, coordinating how you're taking the dragons, and it's still very sloppy for Alliance at times.
It's just one hero. It was just a Chognar.
Well, of course, we have to, at the end of every region, award ourselves an MVP. And today, it's going to come from our first match to none other than Memorized. We saw the highlight plays of Shurko, but sometimes it's the unsung heroes that end up needing that praise. As a result, Memorized, his support play, his positioning was quite stellar.
Especially on the Pura, he constantly had to heal up as well as the well-timed Nature's Rally. There were so many team fights where abilities came in, players dove in, focusing down Memorized as you're supposed to do to any Pura at the start of a fight, and he didn't blow anything. He waited until the fight was almost over, then he spends the Nature's Rally when it can sync up with the rest of the team, and that takes great team play, great communication, and trust in your allies. Memorized is absolutely one of the longest improving players in the European scene.
He did what all good supports to do. He didn't blow his abilities to save himself. He used his abilities to save his team. And that is the mark of a good support, because constantly you're going to be getting focused, as you said, but he held his ground steely-eyed, and he survived, came on through, and then he allowed Shurko to reinitiate. He had the Healing Light, he had the Nature's Rally, which made those exuberances so much more exuberant? Yeah. Sure.
Well, as we saw, the European region... The European region has resulted in a 2-2-0s today. Bubble Team was able to take down Team Queso, and then Existence rolled the dice, and the 6 they did land on twice as they take down Alliance 2-0. Now, taking a look at how that plays out with the standings, Team Queso now with those 2 losses finds themselves just outside of the bubble, no pun intended, of that top 4. Now they're going to have some clawing back to do as Dead Rabbits and Existence finds themselves tied for 3rd.
Is this the end for Alliance? They've had a really rough season, and we've been saying they're almost there, they're almost there, they're almost there for weeks and weeks and weeks. And I'm not sure they're almost there anymore.
They had some moments in that game, but the problem is if they can't do that against Existence, how can they do that again? It's rough.
How do you beat Team Nova?
How do you beat Nova?
When you are taken apart like that by Existence, who are a good team.
Queso into Bubble Team. I got our matches mixed up. But if you can't do... Anyway, it was tough.
Yeah.
Well, we find her.
They were long games, guys. Give me a second here.
It's okay. Take a deep breath. Well, we're going to give you a little
I'm
bit
gonna
of
take a break.
You are. You get to take a break. We get an opportunity for you to, go back. We have an oxygen mask for you. You can get yourself some oxygen and get yourself rested up for North America, because now Europe has concluded. We find ourselves at the end of Europe for week number 6, but we're not done yet with the Valor series. We've got Latin America coming up next with some spicy matches to entail. Don't go anywhere. The Valor series will be back quicker than a flicker.
Alright guys, that concludes this one. All the stuff is Latin America. I don't know how long it is, but I'll find out in a second. I fell asleep in the second to last match because I'm so damn tired. But yeah, like I said, I'm just trying to learn so I can get better. I'm missing something. Basically, missing some arcana and mechanics, and then of course not playing my character at all times because I happen to fill in. At certain times, it's making me get my booty kicked in certain instances. So the last thing is Latin America. I'm gonna stop this and then start this with Latin America podcast.